Hi, welcome to the UPM Book Club. We are reading Wretched of the Earth. We are in the middle of the last chapter. We are on page 199. If you'd like to turn to that in your hard copy of the book or paperback. But Comrade Gabby, would you like to begin the reading?
100% Comrade Zen. I will begin reading Series B. All right, let's get this started. Series B. Here we have collected cases or groups of cases where the triggering factor is first and foremost the atmosphere of outright war that reigns in Algeria. Case number 1. The murder by two 13 and 14-year-old Algerians by their European playmates. Oh wow, that seems rather violent. Also, my phone is about to die. It's always about to die in these fucking things. So let me put a charge. There we go. All right. This involves a medical and legal examination. Two 13 and 14-year-olds Algerian schoolboys are accused of killing one of their European playmates. They have admitted to the act. The crime has been reconstructed and photos included in the file. They show one of the children holding their victim while the other stabs him with a knife. The accused did not get back on their statements. We have long conversations with them. The relevant extracts read as follows. A. The 13-year-old. We were not angry with him. Every Thursday we used to go and hunt together with a slingshot up on the hill behind the village. He was our best friend. He had left school because he wanted to become a mason like his father. One day we decided to kill him because the Europeans wanted to kill all the Arabs. We can't kill the grown-ups. We can kill someone like him because he's our own age. We didn't know how to go about it. We wanted to throw him into a ditch, but this might only have injured him. So we took a knife from home and we killed him. But why did we pick on him? Because he used to play with us. Another boy wouldn't have gone up the hill with us. But he was a friend of yours. So why did they want to kill us? His father is in the militia and says we all ought to have our throats slit. But he didn't say anything like that to you? Him? No. You know he's dead now. Yes. What does being dead mean? It means it's all over. You go to heaven. Did you kill him? Yes. Are you sorry you killed him? No, because they wanted to kill us. So, do you mind being in prison? No. The 14-year-old. This boy is very different from his classmate. He is almost a man, an adult, judging from his muscular control, his physiognomy, and the tone and content of his answers. He does not deny killing either. Why did he do it? He does not answer the question, but he asks me if I have ever seen a European in prison. Has there ever been a European arrested and imprisoned for the murder of an Algerian? I replied that in fact I had never seen any Europeans in prison, and yet there are Algerians killed every day, aren't there? Yes. So why are there only Algerians imprisoned? How do you explain that? I can't. But tell me why you killed this boy who was your friend. I'll tell you. Have you ever heard about the rivet business? Yes. Two of my family were killed that day. At home, they say the French had sworn to kill us all, one after the other. Has any Frenchman been arrested for all those Algerians that were killed? I don't know. Well, no one has been arrested. I wanted to take to the mountains, but I'm too young. So the other boy and I said we will kill a European. Why? In your opinion, what do you think we should have done? I don't know. But you're a child and things that are going on are for grown-ups. But they kill children too. But that's no reason for killing your friend. Well, I killed him. Now you can do what you like. Did this friend do anything to you? No, he didn't do anything. Well, That's all there is to it. God, that is fucked up. Jesus.
That right there shows just how much PTSD those two kids already had from watching, you know, not just adults, but children around them being mass fucking murdered by the colonizers, that it would even drive them to think that that was the solution, you know? And it sucks because, like, that European child isn't responsible for what the adults were doing, but it's also really fucked that, you know, the first kid was saying, well, it's not like we could go after the adults who are doing it, so we went after the kid. How fucking traumatized. Jeez.
That is traumatizing. Like, this is the fucking shit that colonialism does right here. This is fucking sad and fucked up as all living hell, man. God damn.
Very destructive.
Yeah.
Very.
I mean, to push children to that point. Also, I'd like to point out too that even in his analysis there, he's saying that because the 14-year-old is already, like, physically more grown than the other kids around him and bigger build and whatnot, that, oh, he's almost an adult. No, he's not mentally, not emotionally.
No.
You know, your brain doesn't really start doing the maturation it needs to grasp the consequences of your actions until you're 25 years old. Up until then, your brain is governed by your amygdala. And, you know, when you're 25, then your frontal lobe starts to develop. And that's where the things come in of having empathy, of having some emotional regulation, having the ability to understand consequences of actions and things like that. And slowly over those next few years, you know, it tapers where the amygdala is less in control and your frontal lobe more in control until you're about 29, 30. And, you know, by then, in most cases, then, you know, that maturation is reached. But there's also studies that have shown that, you know, if you have severe PTSD or other traumatic experiences when you were younger, that it still takes even longer after that for your frontal lobe to fully develop. And that might be something that Fanon was not aware of at that time, because you got to put this in context to your time frame. And I would have to look it up to see, like, at what point those studies began that actually showed that difference between being controlled by your amygdala versus your frontal lobe. But that is definitely a problem when it comes to the legal system and how it has tried underage kids as adults, as if they have the capacity yet to mentally and emotionally grasp the consequences of their actions when they don't. And that's really fucking sad.
It is.
So, and Rand, I just wanted to point that part out because there's no 14-year-old on this fucking planet that can be considered an adult. And, like, even here, okay, the law considers you an adult at 18 to be legally responsible for yourself, but that doesn't change the biological facts of, like, when your brain develops and actually, you know, that becomes matured as an adult. And it's really fucked up that a lot of this stuff is just used to further incarcerate people who really should be getting therapy.
Yup. It's fucking depressing as fuck. You know, and it's like, you know, like, it does not matter how big you are. It does not matter how much fucking hair you have. It does not fucking matter if you're fucking 14, but you're fucking the size of a LeBron James. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you're still 14. You're still not biologically an adult. Yeah, you're still maturing. Your brain is still maturing, especially when you include the factors of what you were saying of PTSD, trauma, and, you know, and how different neurological disorders affect your the maturing of your brain, like ADHD, autism, and that can vary as well based on what trauma you were exposed to as a child, and how that affects your ADHD and autism, and so on and so forth. So yeah, there are a bunch of factors that go into it as well, you know?
Yep. And it's one of those things I can relate to because, like, I was one of those kids who looked older than I was. I was like 5'9" already when I was in 5th grade, and then shot up a couple more inches where I was 5'11" by the time I went into 6th grade. And so these people were looking at me like, oh, well, you look like you're 14 or 15 instead of 10, 11. So we're going to expect you to behave as if you were 14 or 15. And it's like, fuck off. I'm still playing with Barbies. So like, I totally get where, like, that had to have been frustrating for that kid to be on the receiving end of, being
100%.
treated as if you should behave as if you're older just because, you hit puberty and your body's growing. Shanti, I see you unmuted. Did you have some input to kick in here?
No, I literally go through the same thing essentially, like, because I'm 19 and I had a lot of people, especially like towards the end of my time in high school, like, tell me that I look like a college freshman or sophomore, which is like, I mean, okay, but like, I'm still a youth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so, like, I mean, I already act like, I'm older most of the time, that are like on my own choice. So it's like no one ever, kind of forced me to, act older than, I actually was. It just came with my own territory. But even with that alone, I'm still a youth, I'm still, we're
Right.
still children. So like nothing changes. And the fact that, in that case, the law, in quotes, say that a 14-year-old is, like grown, quote unquote, grown enough to, be, responsible. It's just, it's complete bullshit because, we never operated like that. Once again, we didn't operate like that.
Yep.
Right.
Operate like that. So it's violent. It's very, once again, going to, youth being an oppressed class, we, we have these very colonialist obligations to, uphold to certain shit, to follow certain shit when, we're still kids. We're still kids, 13, 14, 15, we're still kids. And, we're still children. So the fact that, we have to be forced out of our own free will to, grow up, not even naturally, like out of force, that's violent, and that's what's shown here.
Yeah.
Yep.
To a T. To a fucking T. And
Yep.
it's fucking sad and it's heartbreaking because you can't expect somebody that age to have the understanding that someone another 10 or 15 years older than them has. At 14 years old, you don't have any life experience really to go on to have any understanding. Those kids might have been able to conceptualize on a base level of like, like the one kid said, oh, well, yeah, they're dead, they're gone to heaven. That shows no awareness or concept of understanding that, like, that kid had the right to live the rest of his fucking life here.
Yep.
Hello.
They
Hello.
Yeah, we
Yep.
can hear you. What's up?
Like hello, like they deserve to live.
Yep. They
Right,
do. Like,
right. Like,
man.
regardless of who his fucking parents are, okay, his dad probably deserved to get stabbed given the shit he was saying about, all of the Algerians needing their throats slit and shit.
Yeah.
Okay, dad deserved to get stabbed, but the little boy,
Yeah, no. The little
fucking
boy deserved to live. The little boy did not deserve that.
There are limits.
right,
Limits.
right. But again, these two kids in that case couldn't conceptualize of the difference even between that little boy versus his father being separate individuals. That's another facet of that fucking awareness level that comes with more maturity. I don't know how else to describe this other than like these years of, being in your teens and early 20s psychologically are comparative to like the development you go through in toddler age too, of having to understand via those interactions that other people are in fact autonomous beings of their own, and not like a projection from you or an extension of you that exists for you. And that's the very baseline of it that most people grasp when they reach the age of like 4 or 5, unless there was some trauma that happened there when they were an infant or toddler that then further damaged that ability to conceptualize this. But it has a parallel during the teen years there too, of these kids not grasping, okay, this other child that they killed is not an extension of his father. He is his own person who is not responsible for what his father did and said. And it made it where they were able to falsely justify to themselves taking out what they would have wanted to do to the father on the child.
Mm-hmm.
Also, welcome, Joe. I just saw you came in. Hello,
Welcome.
comrade.
Welcome, Joe.
Can just barely hear you, comrade.
We can barely hear you. Yeah. Also, I was just going to say, if y'all want me to continue reading, that's okay. But if anyone else wants to read case number 2, they can do so as well.
Well, honestly, the more I talk, the more it's calming my stomach down. So maybe I'll take a turn and let you have a break.
Go ahead. Go
Right
ahead.
on. Case number 2, paranoid delusions and suicidal behavior disguised as a quote terrorist act in a young 22-year-old Algerian. This patient was referred to the hospital by the French judiciary authorities following a medical and legal examination by French psychiatrists practicing in Algeria. The patient was emaciated and in a state of confusion. His body was covered in ecchymosis and he was unable to absorb any food owing to 2 fractures of the jaw. For over 2 weeks, the patient was fed intravenously. After 2 weeks, his thinking became less blank and we were able to establish contact. We managed to reconstruct the young man's dramatic story. During adolescence, he had been an ardent scout and became one of the leaders of the Muslim Scout movement. But at age 19, he completely abandoned the Scouts to devote himself entirely to his profession. As a passionate student of mechanical data processing, he dreamed of becoming a leading specialist in the field. November 1st, 1954, found him absorbed in strictly professional matters. At the time, he showed no interest in the national liberation struggle. He had already forsaken his former friends. He said he was, at the time, quote, entirely devoted to improving his technical abilities, end quote. In mid-1955, however, during a family reunion, he suddenly got the impression his parents considered him a traitor. After a few days, this fleeting impression lost its edge, but deep down he felt strangely anxious and uneasy. He decided, therefore, to spend as little time as possible eating and talking with his family, and locked himself up in his room, avoided any contact. It was under these circumstances that the catastrophe occurred. One day in the middle of the street, around 12:30, he distinctly heard a voice call him a traitor. He turned around but saw nobody. He hurried on and decided to stay away from work. He stayed in his room, excuse me, and did not have any dinner. It was during the night he suffered the attack. For 3 hours, he heard all kinds of insults, voices crying in his head and in the darkness. Traitor, coward, all your brothers are dying. Traitor, traitor. He was gripped by an indescribable anxiety. For 18 hours, my heart beat at 130 beats per minute. I thought I was going to die. That's excessive. That's like what your heart rate shoots up to when you're exercising. Holy fuck, this poor kid.
Jesus.
From that moment on, the patient could no longer allow, or let me try that again. I need more caffeine. Good Lord. From that moment on, the patient could no longer swallow a thing. He got thinner by the minute, kept himself in pitch darkness, and refused to see his parents. Around the third day, excuse me, he isolated himself in prayer. He told me he remained kneeling 17 to 18 hours a day.
Jesus.
Good Lord. On the fourth day, acting on impulse like a madman, with a beard which must have made him look even more like a madman, he went out without his usual jacket or tie. Once he stepped into the street, he had no idea where to go, but he walked and after a while found himself in the European sector. His physical appearance, he could be taken for a European, seems to have protected him from being stopped and questioned by the French police, whereas next to him, Algerian men and women were being arrested, roughed up, insulted, and searched. Paradoxically, he had no identity papers on him. The fact that the enemy patrols instinctively showed him consideration confirmed his delusion that, quote, everyone knows he's on the side of the French. The soldiers themselves have orders to leave him alone. That right there is a delusion being fed by that paranoia and anxiety from his family calling him traitors. That's a sheer sign of fucking abuse right here.
Yep.
Ding, ding, ding. Moreover, the looks of Algerians arrested with their hands behind their necks, waiting to be searched, seemed to him to be full of contempt. Stricken by an uncontrollable agitation, he quickly strode away. Excuse me. It was then he found himself in front of the French staff headquarters. At the gate stood several soldiers armed with machine guns. He walked over towards the soldiers, hurled himself onto one of them, and tried to grab his machine gun, shouting, "I'm an Algerian." Quickly brought under control, he was led into the police offices where they stubbornly tried to make him confess the names of the leaders and various members of the network for which he was supposedly working. After a few days, the police and the soldiers realized they were dealing with a sick individual. An examination was ordered that concluded he was suffering from mental disorders and should be admitted to a hospital. All I wanted to do, he told us, was to die. Even at the police station, I believed and hoped that after they had tortured me, they would kill me. I was happy to be beaten because that proved they considered me to be one of the enemy as well. I couldn't go on hearing those accusations and do nothing. I'm not a coward. I'm not a sissy. I'm not a traitor. Does anybody have any comments about that case?
That poor guy. Like you said, the abuse he had to fucking go through. Like, Jesus Christ. This is just sad. Man, like this is the fucking shit that happens under colonialism. You're fucking thrown into this cesspool of whitewashed white supremacist bourgeois bullshit. And you're confused about your identity, who you even are, whether you're the enemy, whether you're on the colonizer side, and it just throws these poor people under such confusion, under such mental, psychological, physical, emotional
Strife.
torture and abuse.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
This right here, this case screams gaslighting.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's something that we contend with a lot under colonialism and capitalism, is being fucking gaslit, being made to question our own fucking reality because of what somebody else says. And here, just him having anxiety because his family called him a traitor for, I don't know, being focused on work instead of being involved with the resistance. Look at the toll that took on this kid, you know? I mean, it sounds like all he was trying to do is just, further expand his skill set and be able to like get set in his job and build a career there. And there's nothing wrong with that. That alone is not something with malice for his family to come at him like, oh, well, you're a traitor because you're trying to do something that'll help you survive and aren't aware yet really of like other things you could be doing as far as the movement and revolutionizing your mind. If anything, instead of gaslighting him and telling him he must be a traitor as if he was aligning with the colonizers or something, they should have sat him down and educated him and been like, you know what, we respect what you're doing there of trying to build your skill set and be able to develop good work that will help the community and help your family. There's other ways you can help too, because we've got these fucking colonizers we need to fight the fuck off of our land and off of our backs, off of our necks. The fact that they gaslit him and made him question his own reality and turned his own internal voice against himself is fucked.
It
They
is.
barked at him.
Yep.
They barked at him. And instead of taking him, setting him down and, getting him, putting him on, they just barked at him and thought that was going to work. Do y'all not understand that y'all are under occupation by the French? Do y'all not understand what condition y'all are in? Really?
Right?
Like, really?
Honestly, maybe the parents were lacking some fucking awareness in that vicinity too, because they clearly were lacking an awareness of even how to speak to their own kid.
Yeah. That's essentially what it is.
Like, goddamn, like that poor kid, instead of trying to like you guys were saying, instead of just sitting him down and trying to explain to him, their current materialistic conditions and then being colonized by the French, and being like, hey, your skill set can be used in a revolutionary way. You can give back to your community and radicalize them and show them that things don't have to be this way and that things can be better. But no, they just fucking gaslit him and told him that he was a fucking traitor. Like, goddamn, that's some toxic level of fucking bullshit. Like, Jesus. Goddamn.
We're done.
It doesn't sound like there was anything this kid was doing that was aligning himself with the French in any fucking way, shape, or form.
There was nothing.
He just found a job that he liked and was trying to build a skill set. What the fuck?
Like, we're trying to, and 130 beats per minute.
That's like while you're running on a treadmill type heart rate.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially verging on a heart attack, because once again, your vessels are very delicate. So any pressure that is not keeping them from not going on overdrive, That's a heart attack.
Yep.
He was essentially having a heart attack.
Like, I would have to look it up to like verify the specific range, but if I remember right, I think it's between like 130 to 150 beats a minute is typically what your heart will go up to if you're like running on a treadmill or doing a really fucking active, physically demanding, workout, sparring in a ring with a friend or something like that. And that's okay for a short period of time. Like if you're running a marathon or something.
Yeah.
It's not okay to be sustained like overnight, like they were describing of, the poor kid's laying in bed with his heart thumping out of his fucking chest all night.
And he wasn't even running.
Yep.
Right. Like that's a sheer sign of that PTSD coming out.
Yeah.
Like your heart rate shouldn't be there when you're at rest. It should be around 60 to 80 beats per minute, if I remember right. And even 80 at rest is kind of fucking high,
It's like over 70 beats over the normal rate of what it should be.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's
normal.
Severe stress when it damn near doubles or more your fucking heart rate.
That's stress on overdrive. That's what it is.
And
again, being stuck in fight, flight, or freeze, and they're doing all fucking three at once.
Yep. Literally.
About this last week. We talked about this.
Yep, we talked about it. We talked about this last week with that. I forgot which one it was. Man, this book is fucking amazing. I love these. I love where we're going on so much. But yeah, we talked about this last weekend again, him questioning himself whether he's on the enemy's side, whether he's on or whether he's on the side of the colonizer or the colonized. That fucking colonized mindset, of not even knowing who the fuck you even are, of having your fucking culture and your roots ripped away from you. To where you don't even know who you are as a person, like that right there, and plus his parents fucking demeaning him like that. I think that was the straw that broke his camel's back. His own family being against him.
Yeah, and especially in a situation like that, where when you're actively dealing with violent colonization of your people being fucking mass murdered in the streets just for existing, you're already on the fucking edge, and you really fucking need that support network of your family, your friends, the people around you to even fucking be able to move through that. And the fact that they pushed him off of that fucking edge is heartbreaking. This poor kid needed some fucking love and understanding and compassion and support. And instead, he subjected himself to arrest, to beatings, to being absolutely fucking brutalized, to first even prove to himself that he was not a fucking traitor, let alone to the people around him who never should have come at him out the fucking side of their neck like that.
Yeah.
It's fucked. And also going to take a moment to point out, like, that first warning sign of him not eating, that is a sign that severe depression has kicked in with the anxiety. Yeah. Severe, fucking severe. If somebody around you stops eating for days on end, intervene. Find out what the fuck you need to do to help them, because they are in a fucking mental downward spiral, and it can fucking kill them. There's only so long you can go without food and water before your body starts to shut down. They literally had to give him intravenous nutrition to even make him semi-functional again to have a conversation. Look at the beginning of that section where Fanon said it took, however many days that was to even get him functional to that point. That's because his fucking glucose going to his brain had plummeted so fucking low he couldn't even carry a conversation, even if it wasn't for the broken jaw that he sustained in jail.
Yeah. And I've been in that before. I've been in that before. In my freshman year of high school, I've been in that before. So I get it. I get it.
It's one of those massive fucking red flags being waved of like, this person is in serious need of some fucking help, please intervene, because they are not in a mental and emotional state to be able to make sure that they're even sustaining the meat suit they ride around on this fucking planet in. Help them. Somebody in his family should have noticed and should have gotten him the help of a psychiatrist, or even like taking him straight to the hospital to get put on those IV nutrients that much sooner, rather than letting it devolve to that point where he didn't even get that help for how many or however many more days that was, that he ended up locked up in jail and being beaten for having mental health issues. And that right there is another fucking thing that, you know, we can still draw a parallel to in this day and age of people being arrested, beaten, brutalized, or even murdered for having mental health issues. And it's a huge sign of exactly what the fuck is wrong with the authoritarian, dictatorial fucking manner in which colonizers and their military and policing, and, you know, basically at this point here, fucking militarized police treat people who are going through mental health issues. Like, oh, well, you know, they sit there and hide behind fucking, you know, immunity and say, oh, well, I was scared for my life because this person's mental, so I had to kill him. And it's like, no, you didn't. You needed to get him a shrink.
Yeah.
But hey, there's a few of you that haven't had a chance yet to take a turn reading. Does one of you want to hop in and read case number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, I was muted. I was fucking muted. Oh my fucking god. I was talking this whole entire fucking time. Oh my god.
I'll do it.
Did you have more feedback on case 2 before we move on?
No,
Then
yeah,
I'm
I was
guessing.
just I was just going to say what we're talking about right now with this colonizer bourgeois white supremacist society, fucking demonizing and belittling and killing or incarcerating people who need mental health. It all reminds me. I'm sure y'all remember. It all reminds me of what happened a couple months ago, where that ex-military guy killed that fucking homeless guy in the subway.
Yeah.
I forgot what his name fucking was. I know he had connections to the chief of police, but that's what it reminded
His
me
dad.
of.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, his dad is a cop. That whole situation was extremely fucked. I'm disheartened by the sheer number of people who sat there and just fucking watched it happen.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't care if I was alone. If I saw some shit like that happening, I don't care. I'd have pounced on him and started kicking his friends in the face who were trying to hold the guy down too. Like, fuck
Yep.
you.
To the
You're
head.
not jumping this guy and fucking beating him to death. You know, if I get punched in the fucking face or kicked in the ribs too, so fucking be it. But who in their fucking right mind or with any ethics just sits there and watches it happen? How can you
That's
fucking
the
live?
power of capitalism. That's the power of capitalism. You don't deal with
Yep.
reality.
That's the power of individualism, of individualistic behavior.
It
You'll
really is. I can see from growing up, okay, like I'm from Flint, Michigan, and there people
Oof.
definitely have a mind frame of stay in your own fucking lane and mind your business if you see some shit popping off, you know, because who knows, there could be a drive-by happening at one of your fucking neighbors' houses and shit. And the best you can do is grab your own fucking firearm and go, well, if some shots come flying this way, I'll send some back. But, you know, it's completely fucking sociopathic at this point that this system has conditioned us to those types of things, you know, of like, oh, well, I don't know what's going on. That person could deserve what's happening to them right now, instead of being like, hold the fucking train. What are you doing?
Nobody
Yep.
deserves to get choked out on a train or anywhere else
Yep.
for that matter.
Yep.
Exactly.
Unless you're a Nazi.
Nice caveat there. Yes. It's a matter of like, where are your ethics if you are standing there watching 3 or 4 young men jump a dude on the fucking train and just beating the shit out of him? Like, are you bitch made and scared of hopping in because there's a few of them? Well, guess what? You got 20 or 30 motherfuckers just on this one fucking train car. How about you stand up and fucking prevent them from murdering this person? You know, what the fuck? The fuck is wrong with people? It's what we're conditioned to, of like, oh, well, I should stay in my own lane. No, you should fucking make sure that the people around you ain't being fucking murdered.
You know what?
Yep.
What I find ironic about that whole situation is America loves the underdog. They love that whole trope. But when they actually see it in person, nope, I don't see fucking nothing. I'm just gonna mind my business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because that is feigned of loving the underdog. That's nothing but a front.
Yep.
Comrade Joe, I see you got your hand up. Go ahead, hon. Love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yes, I wanted to touch on that. Some of the things I caught on there is when he gets so wayward to like he's praying for 18 or 19 hours a day for 3 days straight, and then he goes outside and stuff. And like I was trying to think of, okay, well, who was he praying to, or to get to that point and not eat and stuff like that. Of course, you start to hallucinate after that. Sometimes we call things like mental issues because it sounded like he wanted like suicide by cop. But maybe it wasn't mental issues. Maybe it was the fact that he was just so broken down. Then you would think it's a mental issue, but it's just a temporary thing that can be fixed, like you said, sisters. And to bring out if you see somebody up all night and not eating after a day or 2 or 3, intervene on that. I mean, because there is a mental crisis that goes on. So I thought that was pretty sad. Another thing I wanted to say, what you guys were just talking about, and it happened to you when you mentioned it. Hold on, sorry.
Fuck the
Okay,
pig.
thank you. It was an ambulance. But anyway, I'm living off a highway off the coast right now. But what I wanted to say is, last year, I had took a flight back into Denver, and then from there I get on a train, an underground train, first through the airport, and then I got on a train to get on a bus for someone to pick me up. And I was like, and this was after an all weekend rally. But what was crazy is on the train, and I was all happy I'm on the train. I never been on a train before, and I was like, oh, my first time, and I thought it was real cool. But some Caucasian gentleman was really foully disrespecting some young black brother. He had react on it. Was like, he was like, oh man.
Comrade Joe, we can't hear you. You're cutting out.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The last part that came through clearly was when you said that there was somebody harassing a young black person.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yep.
we can hear you.
Oh, okay. And then I didn't act on it because he was calling him, the N word and this and that and all. And then after a couple of minutes, I was like, man, that's it, man. I don't care how big this guy is. I'm gonna stand up to the guy.
Yeah.
So I stood up to the guy and I said, hey, man, that's enough. Like, we're not gonna tolerate this. And that big old guy gets up and says, well, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, oh shit, I got myself in trouble again. And two people on the train, a black brother and a Mexicano, got up and stood up behind me and says, the three of us are going to lick you. And that big old burly white guy sat down and didn't say any more comments. But I think we can still do that today because that happens even today. That's all I wanted to say. That was pretty interesting. But when he was praying, who was he praying to? And then to go through that extreme from being called, a coward and a traitor, and they even mentioned the word sissy in there. Like, man, what a mental breakdown right there. So he might have not even had a mental illness. It was just could have been just mental fatigue and stress and it's such a bullshit thing. But anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Right. I mean, temporary insanity is a fucking thing. You can be pushed over that edge by, the immediate circumstances that are happening. That if somebody had addressed that sooner, it might not have devolved to that fucking point. They might have been able to help him before he fucking sunk so low in that downward spiral and went over the fucking edge. And instead they were like, oh, you're standing on the edge here, I'm going to push you. Also, one, thank you for being a fucking amazing, beautiful person and saying fuck this and standing up for that guy. That right there shows all it takes is one person, the first person to stand up and say, no, I'm not fucking tolerating this. And it inspires others around you to stand with you against the person who's being fucking abusive. That's all it takes. And who knows, you might have saved that person's life that day.
Yep.
That could have turned into another fucking situation like the case we were talking about a minute ago. And instead, that person was able to safely go on about their business and, get off the train in one fucking piece because you and the other people there who stood up for him put a fucking stop to the racist asshole. So thank you for that. More people should be like that. We need to see more of that in this world.
100%,
I was going to say one more thing real quick. That's why sometimes we might not find that within our own families, but we can find that support we need when we aren't doing our best or 100%. We can find it in amongst the comrades, and that's all I wanted to share.
Right on, because I would never find that fucking support with my family. My family are fucking abusive, reactionary, fucking racist, white supremacist, Gusano bastards. I would never find that support with them. And Shay, not Shay, and Joe, that conversation that you're having with that person, it reminds me of something I heard about. I think I might have said this yesterday. I think I might have said this yesterday in yesterday's meeting with for the second Rainbow Coalition Young Lords book club. But I was saying how I remember reading this news where a very popular black athlete went to the Soviet Union and he went out on a train, and there was some guy that said some racial fucking slurs to him that was being racist as fuck to him. And you want to know what the people did on that train? They fucking they fucking took him to the ground. They fucking gave him a good couple punches. They threw him in prison and then they fined him for like a couple $100. Like that right there is fucking awesome. That's a fucking deal with racist fucking white supremacist bastards right there. And it just reminded me of that story.
On that note, sister, realistically, like, hang on, I totally forgot what I was going to say. America won't sign off on declaring white supremacists and white supremacy an actual terrorist organization, because the same people who are in it are also sitting as your judges, your senators, your Congress people, your cops.
They won't.
Sorry,
because they are those people.
Yeah, exactly. The U.S.
Yeah.
is literally founded on white supremacy. It is founded on settler colonialism, eugenics, imperialism, genocide, the exploitation, oppression, subjugation of non-white people, the siphoning of their resources and labor, and so on and so on and so forth. It is founded on the contradictions of capitalism. So of course, they're not going to fucking define
cannot
it as
hire.
terrorism. Yeah, exactly.
You
Because that's what they
cannot.
are.
It's an impossibility. Once again.
Yep. You cannot separate capitalism from racism. You can't, because it's a byproduct of
Yep.
capitalism. You can't separate it.
You know, it's funny, you know, in an ironic way, not a ha-ha way, that the seldom few white supremacist groups that actually have managed to be deemed, you know, homegrown fucking terrorists is only because of so many other people putting extreme fucking pressure on, of like, excuse me, pay attention, look at what these motherfuckers are doing.
Yep.
And it's so slow to even happen. And a lot of that is because, like you guys were pointing out, those people who are in power in the government, in all the fucking, you know, alphabet men fucking organizations, all of that shit, they work hand in hand with these white supremacist groups. You know, it's an example like the NSC 131 Nazis out in New England. They work hand in hand with FBI agent Creedy and his fucking like interoffice fucking crew that is a group of local pigs in Boston working with FBI agents. And these guys have literally fucking protected the neo-Nazis every time they've been doing fucked up shit and get confronted by the community. Guess who escorts them back to their little U-Haul trucks with their little child-sized fucking toy shields and all of that bullshit, and escorts them to the train, and from the train to their fucking vehicles, blah, 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 to make sure that the little fucking Nazi shitheads make it home safe.
Just
And
Sister Zen,
ahead, yeah.
those are fusion centers. The interagency, they call them fusion centers.
Yep. Thank you. I couldn't think of the term right there in that moment because I still don't have enough caffeine in me, but thank you. I need it. But yeah, it's shit like that where it's like, how are you going to actually fucking hold these motherfuckers accountable for them terrorizing the community when they're being protected by the pigs on every fucking level? And
Yep.
that's just one example. I mean, for fuck's sake, historically in this country, we've had KKK members running local fucking pigs, running federal fucking pigs, running for office, sitting in fucking Congress, sitting in the fucking White House, who are openly KKK. And it's like, gee, I wonder why they're not doing anything about the problem that they consist of.
Yep. Or Operation Paperclip. How the fucking U.S. fucking protected and took in Nazis and fucking gave them high-end jobs and that position in government. Like, gee, I sure wonder why.
Yep. That's...
And here's a modern example. The Capitol riots. Not one of those motherfuckers, not one of those little white supremacist bastards got fucking arrested. Not to my knowledge, at least. Not one.
Well, no, they
arrested.
have.
Oh, they have?
Some of them have. It's just taken a lot of time to actually identify individuals, but some of them have. Like there's one white supremacist group from the New England area and other parts that are pushing northeast. Like they operate as far, you know, out as like Pennsylvania and Ohio and whatnot too. But they literally loaded up buses full of fucking white supremacists to go to January 6th. This shit was actually organized by somebody who was running for fucking governor, I believe in New Hampshire. Don't quote me on it. I'd have to look it up, but I think it was New Hampshire that he was running for governor in. These guys fucking loaded up busfuls of people to take out there to do their little fucking bullshit. And some of them have finally started to get identified and arrested for that, because of, you know, them being organizers of that. But it's few and far between. It's definitely not enough as far as the ones who have been arrested so far. And some of them have been arrested on stupid dumb fuck charges like, oh, the guy who stole the podium
Oh yeah.
got, you know, arrested, and I forget what all the charges were, but it basically was dumb shit. But you know, it's kind of fucking ridiculous that, you know, here they were trying to do a coup to fucking like installing an even more fascist fucking government than what we already have.
Yep, literally.
Yeah, Sean, I see you got your hand up.
Tangentially, happy 4th Indictment Day.
Thank you.
That's funny. Thank you for breaking up
What
the,
is that?
the monotony there.
Wait, what does that mean again? Happy
Oh,
4th
Trump got
indictment?
his 4th indictment. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yo, now that right there, that should be a national holiday. That right there.
But
Ugh.
I mean, it's hilarious, and the motherfucker definitely needs it because he's a fascist fuck who wanted to seize power as a dictator.
Yep.
I will point out though that everything that happens with this case from January 6th is more likely than not to actually be used to target the left, not to continue targeting more of the right. This is something I've been pointing out since the day when the shit was happening. That was actually when we did our first podcast and said, fuck it, we can't wait to, you know, start doing our live streams, and did our first live stream for We Are Many was on January 6th. And we were sitting there going, wait a minute, okay, these guys, they've got the right idea. Yes, we need to overthrow the fucking government, but they've got the wrong motivation for what they're doing here, because they're trying to do so in order to like instill a fascist dictatorship. But the fact of the matter is what they're doing right now and how they're addressing that, it's going to have its ramifications that come down harder on the left than they ever fucking will on the right, because, you know, we're the ones actually fighting to overthrow this system for the right fucking reasons.
Yep.
And they don't fucking want that. They would rather be overthrown by fucking Trump supporters than by socialists and communists. So just beware red flags every fucking where on the playing field as far as that one goes, because the system loves to fucking point out anybody who is against the system as, you know, being traitors instead of freedom fighters, because they don't want to acknowledge themselves as being oppressors.
Yep. Literally. And that, you know, and like you were saying, Sister Zen, this whole indictment with Donald Trump, again, he deserves to get fucking indicted. Don't get me wrong. But Donald Trump and most definitely Ron DeSantis are gonna use this shit right here to further their own fucking motives. I guarantee you, Ron DeSantis is gonna make some announcements saying, see, the left is trying to silence us. They're trying to take away our freedom of speech, guys. We have to fight back.
Sister Gabby,
that's
we all know that's their playbook, because it's already been evidenced more than once.
Literally.
More than once. I mean, it's pretty much their operandus modi.
Literally. It's their methodology. Yeah. Like, goddamn. Also, just to add, we probably should continue reading though, and not get too sidetracked.
We definitely should. And if I remember right, Shanti had offered and said she wanted to do case number 3.
Also,
Yeah.
Sister Zen, you seem way better now. I'm happy to see that.
Thank you. My nerves are calming, and maybe it's related to what you were saying
Was
as
Snitch
far as
telling
like
him off?
calming of even just talking is being a soothing effect and calming the nausea and pain. So
Right on. Oh yeah.
thank you. I'm glad I decided to stay on and engage in this, because this is some important stuff to talk about, and just
Yeah, you
even
tell
chilling
him.
with you guys is helping me feel better. So thank you.
Preach. Yo, Sister Zen, whenever I talk to you, whenever I talk to y'all, whenever I talk to you, Shanti, and everyone, my mood becomes instantly better. I love you guys so much. Mwah.
My pleasure.
Mwah.
You
You better leave that dog alone. Sorry.
I imagine that's you, Sean, yelling at dogs.
Yes.
Your dogs
Sorry.
are so cute. It's all good, honey. It gave me a giggle. But yeah, Miss Shanti, we are ready for you if you're ready to dive into case number 3.
Yeah, I'm ready. All right. Case number 3, anxiety disorder in a young French woman whose father, a senior civil servant, was killed in an ambush. This 21-year-old student came to consult me for minor anxiety symptoms that were interfering with her studies and social life. Hands constantly clammy, and at times presented truly alarming symptoms when water, quote unquote, dripped from her hands. Chest constrictions accompanied by nocturnal migraine. Bit her nails. But what caught our attention especially was the clearly over-desirous way to make contact, whereas there was a sense of considerable underlying anxiety. She brushed aside her father's death, which was recent judging by the date, in such an offhand way that we quickly turned our investigation to her relationship with her father. We were given a clear, absolutely lucid description, so lucid as to be almost insensitive, which revealed by its very rationality the nature and origin of this young woman's disorder. My father was a senior civil servant. He was in charge of a vast rural area. As soon as the troubles broke out, he threw himself like a maniac into a frenzied manhunt for Algerians. Sometimes he could neither eat nor sleep. He was so worked up about quelling the rebellion. I watched helplessly as my father slowly changed. In the end, I decided not to go and see him anymore and stay in town. In fact, every time I went home, the screams coming from downstairs kept me awake at night. They were torturing Algerians in the cellar and the disused rooms so as to get information out of them. You can't imagine how horrible it is to hear screams like that all through the night. Sometimes I wonder how a human being can put up with it. I don't mean torturing, but simply hearing someone scream in pain. And it went on and on. Eventually, I never went back. The few times my father came to see me in town, I couldn't look him in the face. I was so horribly frightened and embarrassed. I found it increasingly difficult to kiss him. You see, I lived for a long time in the village. I know almost all the families. I had played with the young Algerians of my age when we were little. Every time I went home, my father would tell me a new batch of people had been arrested. In the end, I no longer dared go out in the street. I was so sure I'd encounter hatred everywhere I looked. Deep down, I knew the Algerians were right. If I were Algerian, I joined the resistance movement. One day, however, she received a telegram announcing that her father had been seriously injured. She went to the hospital and found her father in a coma. He died shortly afterward. Her father had been wounded during a reconnaissance mission with a military detachment. The patrol had fallen into an ambush laid by the Algerian National Army. The funeral sickened me, she said. All those officials mourning over the death of my father, whose quote unquote high moral qualities have won over the native population, made me feel nauseous. Everyone knew it wasn't true. Nobody could remain ignorant of the fact that my father had ruled all the interrogation centers in the area with an iron fist. They knew that 10 people were killed every day under torture. And yet they came to recite their lives about his devotion, his self-sacrifice, his love for his country, etc. I have to confess that words don't mean much to me now. Well, not very much. I went straight back to town and avoided the authorities. They offered me financial support, but I refused. For me, it was bought with the blood my father had spilt. I don't want any of it. I intend to work.
God damn.
That says a lot when, you know, children of the colonizers are going, fuck this, the Algerians are right.
Yep,
And,
literally.
you know, need to throw all the fucking Europeans the hell out of Algeria, you know?
Literally.
You can see it.
Like honestly, like, you know, like that right there. She is she was a class traitor. You know, she saw the bullshit. She saw the fucking torture that the Algerian people face, and despite her benefiting from it, said, you know what? I want this shit fucking torn down. That right there is real revolutionary fucking spirit, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And she was a child. She
Yep.
saw
Even a fucking child can realize that shit. There is no fucking excuse for this. Even a child can look at this and say, no, yeah, we're in the wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
it's not that hard, folks. Slavery is bad.
understand. Hello.
Like, goddamn.
But that case alone, that's all you need to know. That's honestly
Yep.
all you need to know. Really, I think that's all you actually really need to know. Because
Yep.
the fact that a child can see this, can see all through this, like, that says enough.
Yep.
Yep. And especially given like what we were talking about earlier of, you know, brain development having a direct effect on your ability to understand consequences of actions. And here this child is trying to point out that her father did not grasp the repercussions of what the fuck he was doing or did not care. And it sounds like her father was a fucking psychopath.
Yep.
Willing to go all out by any means necessary to kill whatever Algerian came in his sight. And guess what happened?
He got killed. Rightfully so.
He got killed because this is exactly what I say. The colonizers are not protected either because they will be killed in this too.
Yep.
I said last week.
You are only ever useful to the bourgeois depending on your agency to capital. That's it. You know, if you are still exploitable, if you are still in some way, shape, or form capable of upholding white supremacy and the contradictions of capitalism and the interests of the bourgeois, and you are able, and your labor is able to be siphoned, then oh yeah, you're chill with them. But the moment you are incapable of doing that, they could give two shits about what happens to you.
The fact that they were talking about him the way they did at his funeral as if he was some kind of upstanding motherfucker is absolutely sickening.
Yep.
Sickening.
Like,
they're like, oh yeah, he tortured so well.
I had to,
what the fuck?
I had to laugh. I literally had to laugh.
You know what the funny thing is people who do those sorts of actions always think they're doing the right thing.
Yep. They always think that shit.
They always believe that.
They always think they're the heroes.
It's that manifest destiny bullshit ass fucking mindset where they literally think that, oh, well, we're helping these people by, you know, culling the ones who stand against us. Only those who don't want to become more civilized would stand against us. And it's like, motherfucker, how can you call yourself civilized?
Yeah.
What do you think you're doing that's improving any fucking thing here?
No, like it was exactly what we were talking earlier about, sisters, and the whole obsession in the U.S. with the underdog fucking theme. Because guess what? 99% of that is literally 99% of the whole fucking underdog bullshit is tied to, guess what? White saviorism. The idea that the white guy is gonna save the day, he's gonna do all these amazing bullshit, and that the single average looking white man can somehow kill thousands and do all these fucking amazing tricks and fucking jump off of fucking skyscrapers and helicopters and fucking do all these amazing shit and save the world. It's literally tied to fucking manifest destiny, white savior bullshit. But guess what? But when they confront reality, the funniest part is that the people, these white supremacists who always fucking root for the underdog, always do things in groups. That's the funny part. That's always the fucking funny part, because they are afraid. They're fucking afraid when they actually have to encounter the consequences of their actions and how the colonized react to them.
Right.
Like Jesus Christ. So yeah, you know, I just find it funny how they. Oh, sorry. I'm saying where your real estate sisters end.
I was just muttering, you fucking nailed it.
Yep.
Yep, that. They never root for the underdog of like, oh man, the people we're oppressing are fucking doing awesome, standing up against our oppression.
Yep.
No, they root for somebody who was, you know, previously lower on the white totem pole, moving further up the white totem pole.
Yep.
And better oppressor.
Yep, literally. You know, they root for the Azov battalion. They root for the fucking white supremacists in Ukraine, but they don't root for Palestinians. They don't root for them against Zionism and the illegitimate state of Israel.
Sadly, a lot of it comes down to straight up fucking ignorance in more than one facet, because there's the ignorance of not bothering to look actually into something and find out what the fuck really happened there. And there's the level of ignorance of, well, the media said this, so I fucking believe it. And that's one of the biggest problems there as far as what's happening in Ukraine, because a lot of people are completely fucking unaware that in 2014, the Obama administration and NATO literally fucking funded and armed a bunch of Nazis to perform the Maidan coup, the color revolution that happened there, and that the masses of Ukraine were absolutely against it. And every time that the fucking people came out protesting these fucking Nazis trying to overthrow their government that they had actually elected, the Nazis just started killing people en masse. There's stuff like I would have to dig through my files to find it, and if y'all want to see the stuff, I can send you the file folder from Google Drive later. But there's literally instances where like these Nazis locked people in buildings and set them ablaze. Like, how dare you want to stand up against us? They mass murdered people. I believe it was in like a train station or a bus station in that manner for coming out and protesting against the Nazi takeover. And at this point, people fucking spent 8 goddamn years ignoring the seldom few actual investigative fucking journalists still in existence who were reporting on this for fucking 8 years, exposing these fucking Nazis, and that they're mass murdering everybody in the Donbass region who is of Jewish ethnicity, Romani ethnicity, or Russian ethnicity, because when this coup happened, the people of Donetsk and Lugansk went, oh, fuck this. And same for, I believe it's Crimea, the part in the south that defected back to Russia.
Yeah.
All 3 of those areas were like, fuck this. We are not going to be ruled by fucking Nazis. And they had the options of declaring themselves completely independent or to, rejoin Russia. And Crimea, over 90% of their people voted to rejoin Russia simply to have the protection against the Nazis there. And that has also been twisted in the fucking media of pretending as if Russia just like fucking overpowered them and took them because they wanted that spot. No, they didn't. The fucking people came out and put it to a vote, and over 90% of them were like, yeah, fuck this Nazi fucking coup going on here. We'll take, rejoining Russia. But the people in Donetsk and Lugansk wanted to simply be autonomous, wanted to govern themselves. They wanted their own self-determination. And so they chose to declare their own independence from Ukraine. And Russia respected that. And we're like, okay, we're hands off. Well, after 8 fucking years of being constantly bombed and shelled by the fucking Nazis in Ukraine, they'd been crying for help for so fucking long as they are getting mass murdered by the fucking thousands, even down to their children being fucking killed in their own front yards as they play, that finally, Russia stepped in like, oh, okay, you've been asking for help. We're going to step in and fucking help push these Nazis back out of Donetsk and Lugansk. And don't get me wrong, Putin's a fucking piece of shit who deserves the wall for so many fucking reasons. And there's a million reasons to call out so many fucking things with the Russian government and the way that it's being run. This, however, is not one of them. That douchebag Putin is wrong about a lot of things, but he's not wrong about this one thing of stepping in and going, okay, enough of you fucking committing ethnic cleansing genocide here, killing off all the people in, this eastern region that used to be part of Ukraine, but they are not. They have declared their independence. Get the fuck out, Nazis. And so here, our fucking reactionary ass media is trying to fucking twist and contort shit to make people think that, oh, we've got to support, the Ukrainian government. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? The masses of Ukraine don't even support it. They don't fucking want to be under control of these Nazis. And they've been saying so from fucking day one. You could go to Ukraine right now and turn on a camera and fucking interview people in the street. And the majority of responses that you would get is people either A, being too scared to talk and speak their fucking mind because they know that they'd be next to get fucking hit, or B, going, I don't feel safe saying this, but I need to say this. No, we don't fucking want to be controlled by these Nazis. And here instead, the media is gaslighting everybody of like, oh, I know this was reported on and we told you for years that this is a bunch of Nazis, but we're gonna fucking tell you now that it's not, because our government and the fucking billionaires that own the government and own us at the media companies have handed us a script and told us we're not allowed to be honest about this now. So we're going to tell you they're not Nazis anymore. And it's like, fuck you, lying son of a bitch, fucking gaslighting everybody en masse.
It's fucking disgusting as hell, and
isn't it just like 6 people that own most of the major medias?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The major shareholders, anyways, in every one of these conglomerates of media companies. Yes.
Just 6 people.
2 times 3.
Yep. And they're the ones who, I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of these mashup videos showing clips of all these fucking media talking heads reading the same script, but it really is eye-opening to see that it doesn't matter if you're watching Fox or CNN or NBC or ABC or any other fucking major news conglomerate, any of their fucking local stations, they're all handed the same fucking script. There's a reason for that. There's a fucking reason for that. They are not allowed. They're not allowed to fucking do true investigative journalism. They are not allowed to report the truth. They are allowed to parrot whatever fucking approved statements they received from their corporate overlords.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all spin. Propaganda bullshit. But anywho, that we've gone off on some wild tangents here.
As always.
But it's one of those things that we do have to recognize of the facets that Fanon is pointing out here of colonization. These same facets we can see in the fucking gaslighting and the abuse and the PTSD that happens in every area that is being fucking colonized. And I will take the moment to point out that Ukraine definitely fucking is colonized.
Yep.
That area for thousands of years, was part of Russia. That area was settled by the Kievan Rus initially, and progressively, settled over thousands of years after that by people coming from all over the fucking world, mostly West Asia, because that was a main point in the fucking trade routes. And when Nazi ideology and that stuff was building in Europe, a lot of those originally, Germanic Nazis were moving into the Ukraine area and bringing their ideology with them. And a lot of people don't know that Ukraine even had its own fucking part in the Holocaust of mass murdering Jews and Romani then. And because they got fucking colonized by Germanic Nazis coming in, that ideology is held because those colonizers fucking stayed. That wasn't their fucking home. And they try to call themselves now the real Ukrainians. And it's like,
They're
no,
not.
you're not. Exactly.
You're not.
Like, the people who you're trying to mass murder and fucking genocide out of existence there have lived there thousands of years longer than before you ever stepped foot in it. It is not your land, colonizer. Fuck. And that's a lot of what happened during World War II and the decades leading up to it is, the people from Germany and surrounding areas trying to gain a foothold in the surrounding countries by moving there and bringing their ideology with them and infecting the local areas with those ideologies. And that is a form of fucking colonization. I don't give a fuck if technically Ukraine is still part of Europe. Guess what? One part of Europe can fucking colonize another part of Europe. It's happened many times.
Yep.
This is colonization.
The British with the Irish, Welsh, and Scottish.
One of the most famous cases, yes.
Yep, the Kievan Rus, the Kievan Rus, with Ukraine, Belarus, the indigenous people of Siberia, the Asian ethnicities, in Eastern Russia, and so on and so forth. Like I've said before, and I'll say again, even Europe needs decolonization. The Basque in France and Spain, the travelers, the Romani, they are ethnic communities that are colonized, that are internal colonies within Europe, and that need decolonization, self-determination. Like, decolonization is not only limited to one continent or one region. No, decolonization needs to happen all over the fucking board. It needs to happen everywhere, even in Europe.
Yep. Agreed. Absolutely fucking agreed.
Yep. Anyways,
I'm curious. Joe and Sean, you guys haven't had a chance to take a turn reading yet. Does one of you want to read case number 4?
Sure. I had actually volunteered for 3, but everybody's been talking and it's all good.
Oh, my apologies. I hadn't heard you. I just heard Shanti speak up first saying yeah when I asked that one, but go
case
for
4
it.
is actually
Number 4 is
I think we both answered just about the same time.
Okay, all I heard come through my
Sorry,
speakers was Shanti's voice. My apologies.
Case 4 is actually very short. It's very short.
correct. Okay. Number
Comrade Sean, we can barely hear you.
Yeah,
you're
you
on-
immediately
on-
went staticky, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm running off the cell servers. Okay. Case number 4, adjustment disorders with mixed behavioral and emotional features in young Algerians under 10. These cases are refugees, sons of freedom fighters or civilians killed by the French. They've been allocated to centers in Tunisia and Morocco. They are provided with schooling and games, and outings are organized. They are examined regularly by doctors. This is how we came to a certain number of them. All the children presented a very marked love for parental images. Anything which resembles a father or a mother, doggedly sought after and jealously guarded. Generally speaking, they all show signs of a phobia to noise. They are deeply affected by the slightest reprimand, a great craving for calm and affection. They suffer from insomnia and sleepwalking, sporadic, I've never seen that word, enuresis.
Enuresis. Yep, you had it right the first time.
Okay. So tendencies, one of them is to angrily pierce holes in a stretched sheet of paper. All their pencils are chewed and they bite their nails with distressing regularity. Quarrels often break out despite their deep affection for each other.
I'll rewind a second in case anybody doesn't know what the sporadic enuresis is. It's urinating. They were peeing their pants because they were so stressed out.
Damn, that must be it. Damn, that must be it. God, that must be so awkward and embarrassing.
That is trauma.
Yep.
That is a lot of trauma.
Like shit, you know, like a lot of people oftentimes kid and joke about ha 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 funny, they peed in public, oh my god guys, so funny, but like no, like that's fucking traumatic as fuck.
Like no.
Like
honestly, like a lot of, go ahead.
I was just going to say that that I don't care if it's quote unquote funny. You peeing yourself, especially in public, is traumatic. It could be a source of trauma and embarrassing as fuck. You know, and that's what I was gonna say.
Well, not just that, it's a sign that there's already trauma that's happened and something just triggered them.
Yep,
in that
literally.
moment when they're peeing their pants, it's because something has triggered them. That's a fear response.
Yep.
Now, listening to some of these descriptions of these areas, a lot of these behaviors actually show up in the kids who are in state care, foster homes, group homes, things like that. Ask me how I know. I personally have been there and suffered through this shit. So did my two sisters. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. But, you know, I don't necessarily want all of that sort of information recorded. So, you know, ask me privately.
Right on.
Of course.
Totally respect that boundary. I will just point out that that's a commonality amongst a lot of people who have suffered through being put in the system.
Yep.
It does more damage than good. And it's something that we need to fix, because it's one thing if kids are needing to be removed from the home that they were born into because of severe abuse, but you're not fucking helping if you put them into another abusive situation. That's expanding the problem. That's making them having to deal with even more trauma. It's not helping.
Because
And
that's the
this
entire
system is
point.
broken. Go ahead.
Because that's the entire point. They don't
Yep.
care about children. Once again, children are an oppressed class, so they will go and traumatize these children in these class conditions in any kind of way, even taking them out of their already abusive homes and putting them in a capitalist abusive system, you know,
For
waiting
money.
the next home, and then they face the same thing. Like, you know, they don't care about them. That's the point. So they have to make it where, you know, you can go to these people, you know, for help as you see, you know, a child being abused. No, 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 no. That's not how they work.
Yep.
That's not how they work. And we do know this. We do know this. We are aware of it, but many of us, we don't want to confront it because, you know, supposedly this is the only route that we could go.
The lesser evil, quote unquote. Fuck that bullshit.
Right. And
Yeah,
it's really not.
Yeah.
From all of the stories that I have heard from everybody I know who had to suffer through the foster system, no, it's causing more fucking damage. This shit right here is breaking people by putting them through this shit. And for what? So the system can profiteer off of basically marketing kids.
Yep.
And you know, even if it's not going to the extent that some of them are of, you know, like the literal sexual fucking exploitation and sale of children who get put in foster care, but even, you know, without that facet of it, what they're doing is still a means of them using abusive children to profiteer.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucked. It's one of those things where they can, you know, be like, oh well, we need billions more in taxpayer funding to come into our little office here so we can quote unquote help kids. And really the bottom line of it is most of the people who do foster care only do so because A, they want that fucking check from the state to pay them for taking care of kids, and B, they typically fucking use the kids that are in their care as slave labor around their fucking houses. They don't treat them as family.
Yep. It's
all-
just, it's all fucked. It's all fucked. Like, just.
Which actually brings me to the whole bring Chanel home thing up in Alaska.
yeah, that poor child.
I don't know if everybody here has seen the language that has been used from her supposed caretakers
Oh,
at
I have-
all.
I don't
Calling her
know
Mowgli?
what the story's about. I have no idea what the story's about.
Okay, so a father killed a mother of a child named Chanel.
Jesus.
Then he was able to tell the courts that this random white couple he knew would be a safe place to put the child in an adoptive formatting. They have since used this child on social media as, you know, oh, hey, look, these natives can't take care of themselves. And, oh, look at this little Mowgli child. And it's pretty fucking awful. We're teaching her how to stack firewood for us. That baby is 2.5 fucking years old. There is no conceivable reason that she needs to be stacking up firewood ever.
What
Period.
the fuck? What? Wait, so wait.
Yeah,
It's awful.
So they took the advice of the guy who murdered their parents? What the
They
fuck?
took the-
Yo.
It's her father and he murdered her mother.
Yes.
Yo.
Yeah, no, the more you look at this story, the wilder it gets. And it don't take but 5 minutes of looking around to see just how batshit crazy that whole thing is.
Like, they don't even
tribal
use her
courts.
name.
Sorry. What were you saying, Sister Zen?
Sorry, I was the one interrupting there. I was saying they don't even use her name. They just,
They
you know,
don't.
call her adjectives. But what were you going to say about the tribal courts? Because
The tribal
that
courts
right
have
there is
already ruled, stepped in and said, no, this child needs to be in native hands in the native community. Since ICWA got reaffirmed, at this point, it is a wild ass, felony that these white folks keep holding on to this baby. And they are using police and restraining orders to keep the child in their home, despite a governmental authority saying, no, you need to actually fucking relinquish this child.
at this point, it's kidnapping and holding her hostage when they've been court ordered and they're just refusing. And if I remember
With
right,
police
the
help.
foster mom even tried to lie and pretend like she's part indigenous in order to pretend as if that gives her the right to lay claim on this child. And it's like, fuck you, you're not even her relative. I don't care even if your great grandma was native. Fuck you. You're abusing this child and treating her like a fucking token.
Yep.
And like they're doing it all just for attention on social media. I've seen their feeds and these people are fucked up. They just want that white savior fucking attention of like, see, look, we're saving this little brown baby. And it's like, how about I stab you in the throat? Sorry.
How about I kill
Like-
you?
How's your eyes
Not
out?
going to.
Like, seriously?
Sorry, Shanti, your audio like broke up massively. What were you saying?
I was like, can I gouge your eyes out?
Right on.
Right.
Bro,
To the wall
mean-
with your ass.
I mean, there's actually a knife from China that's designed to give you paper cuts. I bet we can think of some real fucking fun things to do with that.
It's just- okay. I mean, we should probably rein it in a little bit, but I think we can all fucking agree that there is no ethical fucking manner in which this couple should be allowed to retain custody of this child. They are harming her. They are treating her like a fucking slave. They literally brag about it on their social medias about how they are training the little native baby to stack their firewood, like Sean was saying. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? They are just bragging all over like TikTok and whatnot about how they're gonna have a good little fucking housemaid and yard worker over the next couple of years. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? This child deserves to actually have a childhood, a life, to be treated with love and caring and compassion, not treated like manual labor that you acquire.
Yep. You know what reminds me of, Sisters Zen? You know what this reminds me of, that white saviorism they were talking about? It reminds me of those fucking white people that take a trip to Africa and they fucking take a picture with them with a bunch of African children around them, and they're like, "Look, guys, we're saving them. We're giving them shelter and love." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, shut the fuck up! Those children have their own families. For the love of God, fuck off, you white colonizer bitch."
It's that ministerial shit of like, oh, we're missionaries. I know they're starving and, could actually use food, but we brought them a Bible.
Y'all took our food.
Right.
Y'all took our food. Right.
That part.
That part.
Colonization is the theft of resources, period, plain and simple. Nobody would be living in poverty there if they hadn't been colonized and had all of their resources raped, pillaged, and fucking stolen, because
At our civilization.
Africa is literally the wealthiest part of the planet in terms of resources. Are you fucking kidding me?
We are the world. We are the world. There would be nothing. They would not have coffee. They would not have gold. They would not have these diamonds. They would not have rubber.
iPhones.
They
Oh
would not
yeah,
have
France.
if it wasn't for us.
France totally would have collapsed at least 50 years ago, if not for the gold extracted out of Africa. And
Yep.
actually, the coup there, they were just talking about that in a video I saw like 2 days ago. I don't know how the media is actually portraying that particular coup at the moment, but I can guess it's not fucking great.
Well, the
I
fact that
imagine-
they're framing it as a coup instead of revolutionaries retaking power over their own fucking homeland speaks volumes, because if it's white people in a fucking white area overthrowing some shit, then it's freedom fighters. But if it's black people overthrowing white people, it's a coup.
Yeah.
That alone, their verbiage there about it says volumes, because they're trying to paint that as, oh, it's a coup, therefore it's invalid. And it's like, no, your fucking colonization there is what was invalid. Fuck off. These are
Yep.
freedom fighters.
The only reason I use the word coup, because the black man in the video who was doing the press conference and, saying, France would have collapsed without us, he specifically used the word coup. I'm not using it just because, that's what I heard.
I know.
No. This is like, I heard this directly as I watched a video from, somebody who's there, who has had their
Don't worry,
hands in
comrade.
all of it. Right.
I
Don't
know.
worry,
And
comrade.
my criticism there isn't of you using the word coup. It's of the media framing it in that manner in the first place to give it a negative connotation. When that's not the case, this shouldn't be viewed negatively. This is people saying, fuck this, we are taking back our self-determination and autonomy, and fuck this colonizer shit, get the fuck off our land.
Yep.
So my criticism there is very much of the media itself, not of you, Sean.
Right on. I love it. I love how we get into such deep conversations based on just a little bit of text. I fucking love that.
To be fair, what's happening right there could be very much inspired by the things that Fanon was going through, that he's talking about in this book, and what Kwame Nkrumah went through, and other revolutionaries throughout Africa who have had to fight to retake their fucking self-determination and overthrow colonizers. And it's fucking heartbreaking that at this point there is still parts of Africa colonized by France. There's other parts where they've overthrown the colonization, but are still stuck somewhat in colonization because they're literally paying annual fines to France
Neocolonialism.
to basically accommodate France of like, oh, so sorry, we're not letting you fucking steal our resources anymore. We'll pay you for your loss. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. If anything, France should be paying back every fucking area that they've ever colonized for the losses that the colonized had to experience. It's really fucked, and another form of gaslighting there that France is actually making their former colonies pay them.
Neocolonialism, literally.
Yeah,
That right there.
I'd be like, fuck you, we're not giving you a dime. Fuck you, pay
Yep.
us, or we're gonna come invade France.
That's the same fucking shit. If I remember correctly, that's the same fucking shit. Britain is doing to Jamaica, I believe, to Jamaica or to Haiti, either one.
I believe both, but I'd have to look it up.
I think Haiti,
Yeah,
because
like it.
I want to say it's Haiti.
yeah, because after they became independent, France, because they lost so many of their people, as they should, they asked Haiti to keep giving them to pay. I forgot what it was called, but to pay like a lot of money like back to France for quote unquote compensation, keeping Haiti under Francis's grasp. and therefore leading Haiti to how it became today, because they were still essentially under siege by France. Literally on the other side of the island of Quisqueya, the land of the Tainos, the so-called Dominican Republic, they were, formulating its own racialist, white supremacist existence, and committing the same thing that the French did to enslaved indigenous Africans in Haiti. And even those people who are, many of them who are descendants of the Taino people, they are psychologically so-called white. Therefore, they are committing those same actions on the Haitians, including Dominicans of Haitian heritage. The Parsley massacre that happened when one of the DR's dictators, I literally forgot his name, but he essentially deemed Haitians and Dominicans of Haitian heritage as baggage, essentially, and a detriment to so-called Dominican society. And they killed about 17 to 35,000 African Haitians in a matter of a week, because that was how deep the racism was. That's how deep the colonialism was, and it's still going on to this day.
Yep.
Oh,
It's still going fucking on.
like hello, this is happening right in front of us.
Yep.
So there you go.
That's so fucked and fucking heartbreaking. That right there is a prime case of neocolonialism, of getting people to turn the gun to their fucking own heads, since the French were still holding it to their heads. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. That's disturbing. That's disturbing that they're mass murdering their own people. It's ethnic cleansing once again, and it's fucked. And to go back, rewind a little bit further in the conversation, like the fact that France completely raped Haiti of all of its resources, of its labor, of everything, every fucking thing, and has left Haiti absolutely destitute in its fucking wake, and now has the audacity to demand that Haiti pay France, is just abhorrent.
On
That's
native,
fucking disgusting.
on native land, mind you.
Yep.
Right, because as you point out, that's Taino land.
Yep. That's Taino land right there.
Tainos and the Tainos are still there on that island too. They are still very much there on both sides too. They're
Yep.
still very much there.
Yep, literally.
Many of the Dominicans, many Dominicans are of mixed Spaniard, indigenous African, and indigenous Taino, but there are plenty of Taino communities on the Haitian side as well.
Yep.
So, like,
Well, yeah, the
y'all-
Taino are the indigenous of those islands.
Yeah.
It's
like y'all want to keep on saying that they're gone, that they're extinct, that they're nowhere to be found anymore. Oh, wait.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. Hey,
I've said before, and I've said it again. I've said before, and I've said it again. Taino people are not fucking dead. They're still here. They can still be found in southern Florida, and Cuba, and Puerto Rico, and the Bahamas, and all of the Caribbean. They can still be fucking found. They are not dead. And as for the Taino language itself, the Taino language is also not dead, because I believe I said this before in another call that we had. I don't exactly remember which one it was, but the Taino language, like a lot of other indigenous languages, had to assimilate with Spanish, and a lot of Caribbean Spanish a lot of phrases and words literally have their origin from the Taino language. So there are projects in the Caribbean right now that are trying to reconstruct
They are.
the Taino language, and they're
They
doing
are.
pretty good from what I hear. They're actually they're actually reconstructing it. So both the Taino people and the Taino language are not dead. They're still here. They're not gone. They still fucking exist, and it
They're
disgusts
still
me
here.
that these white supremacist fucking eugenics bastards, that these fucking colonizer pieces of human filth are fucking trying to portray them as if they're gone. That right there, that's that whitewash
They're not
fucking
gone.
bullshit that they want to do. That's the fucking bullshit that they want to do. They want to portray that the colonization in the Americas happened. They want to portray the colonization in the Americas happening as if either there was no one here or that the indigenous people just just let it happen, quote unquote.
Quote
Fuck that
unquote.
bullshit.
Like, and the Taino language is still being revitalized. As a matter of
Yep.
fact, there is a new dictionary out for the language that I've shared on my Facebook.
Can you send it to me?
Yeah, I'll send it when I find it. When we're done, I'll send it, because like I need people to really understand that the Taino people, that the reason why they are still here is because they resisted. Those that have
Yep.
stayed alive and have resisted against Spaniard imperialism, against Italian colonialism, because Columbus was Italian. So it counts.
Bitch. Yep.
They have resisted. They many of them hid in the mountains, and they stayed alive. They stayed alive. What do you think Boricua means? That means born again. That's what they called what became Puerto Rico. That's born again. That's what Boricua means. That means
Yep.
that you are a descendant of the Taino people of Borinquen, which most people of so-called Puerto Rico are. So the
Yep.
fact that they, once again, I talked about this last week, they still want to portray the Tainos as being uncivilized, even though they were fully developed. They were
Yep.
fully developed. Okay, they were fully developed, just like every other native person on this continent. And the fact that they want to cast it off as if they just disappeared out of nowhere. No, many of them disappeared out of nowhere because of the labor and because they were being killed. And many of
Yep.
them that resisted and stayed alive, that's why the Tainos have been able to have longevity up to this very moment of this book club now, because they resisted.
Yeah.
And they hid. That's what happened. So yes, they haven't left anywhere, and they're still not going to go anywhere, no matter how
Yep.
much imperialism happens. They are still here. The Tainos are still here through their descendants. They are Taino, period. They are Taino, period. They have not left anywhere. A
Yep.
lot of Puerto Ricans of Taino heritage, which is a lot of them, they boldly exclaim their indigenous heritage. They boldly
Yep.
proclaim it. They are proud to be Taino. They are proud to be indigenous African. They are proud to be Afro-Taino. And what really gets me is that even with that, the erasure of the Taino people is what plays a big role in the bleeding of the island of Borinquen in the hands of colonialism, especially the US empire, because it's been 125 years now since they've been under occupation, 130 for Hawaii, for the Kanaka Maoli, whom are the native Hawaiians. It's been a long, hard battle. And many of them that are using their bodies to defend their island, to defend it from being desecrated, Taino ecology being destroyed, their land being destroyed, and being prostituted to pig capitalists. They're very tired, they are very exhausted, but they have no other choice, because it's either Borinquen or no Borinquen at all. And so
Right.
this is really important to note it.
Yep.
Right. They have been
Beautiful.
fighting for survival since the very beginning of colonization. And I think part of where a lot of this gets misconstrued of people thinking that the Taino don't exist anymore is because when the islands were first being colonized, there was mass murdering that was fucking happening because these fucking colonizers came over and they fucked up. They thought that they were just going to be able to easily enslave the people who already lived here, and many tribes fought back and got then brutalized to the point of like these colonizers were slitting children's throats, the whole 9 yards. So there are specific tribes that did get completely wiped out, but that doesn't apply to all Taino people.
Yep.
The ones who saw their fucking neighboring tribes being completely genocided did exactly like you said, Shanti, and escaped to the fucking mountains like, oh shit, we're gonna go hide if they can't find us and go live there so we can actually survive. Because
so did,
they saw the sheer brutalization of like, okay, the weapons we have are not sufficient enough to fight back against these colonizers who have firearms, things like that. And we're showing up in such large numbers and with such volatility and violence that there were specific tribes that they fucking targeted and wiped out of existence completely because the people kept fighting back and refusing to be enslaved. And so more power to them, may they rest in power, but they did not succeed at completely wiping out the Taino people. And so I think that's where that misunderstanding comes from. I don't know if anybody here has read Howard Zinn's book, A People's History of the United States, but the first chapter of that, it'll rip your fucking guts out to read it because it's so disturbing. But it goes into the details of what happened in those first years of colonization and the colonizers being completely volatile like that and killing off entire tribes on the islands because they weren't fucking, submitting to the demands to be enslaved. And that's when they started kidnapping and enslaving Black people from Africa and bringing them to the islands in the first fucking place. And that right there is why we have not just Taino survivors, but Afro-Taino, because Black slaves who fucking, managed to escape slavery and get the fuck out of Dodge ended up, moving into areas where the Taino people were still surviving and becoming part of the community. And it's one of those things that a lot of people really do need more education on to understand of like, try as they may, those fucking colonizers did not succeed there in absolutely genociding the Taino people out of existence. They fucking failed. And I'm glad for it that, there's still Taino populations out here speaking up and going, fuck you, we are still here.
Fuck yeah, preach. That right there. That right fucking there. They did not eradicate the Taino people. They are still here to this very fucking day. Their culture is still here. Their traditions are still here. Their language is being revitalized. They never went away. They're still here. You can literally find the Taino people. Sisters, and you said that you said they took trips to the Keys. I don't know if you've ever met any Taino people, but there are still Taino people in Southern Florida. There are still Taino people in Southern Florida.
They literally will state flat out, fuck you, we are not Florida, we are the Conch Republic. Flat out. Because they're like, don't fucking confuse us with Florida. We are not Florida. Fuck Florida. We're the Conch Republic. And the indigenous of the Conch Republic, I do believe, are also Taino. I would have to look it up to like double check, but I believe they are. And especially just as close as they are to the other islands there. There's even if it's not a direct connection, there's still, that facet of similar indigenous peoples on those islands. So I would have to
Yep.
double check on that of if the conch are Taino or not. But there's a great likelihood of that. But yeah, they absolutely fucking cannot stand being called Key West, Florida. They're like, fuck you, we're
Yeah.
not Florida.
That's
you know,
that's also them. I don't think
they have
anyone
their own
wants to be associated
culture.
with Florida.
And their culture has suffered a lot due to even modern day colonization. Because, okay, if you had gone to Key West in like the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, it was still very much conch culture there. And the areas became popular, gained more attention because of, you know, certain wealthy white people going there to vacation, you know, things like that, and started drawing attention of, here's this, you know, absolutely beautiful tropical escape from the rest of the fucking world. And in the last like 30 to 40 years, it's gone to shit because of being colonized by billionaires and millionaires coming there, buying up properties, making it unaffordable for the conch people to live on their own fucking land, and building, you know, these massive fucking businesses there for tourism and all this other shit, where at this point you're lucky to be able to survive, because most of the people there who are either conch or who are of Haitian or Dominican descent are stuck working in service industry jobs that don't pay enough to fucking survive and even fucking pay for housing, because their housing costs have fucking skyrocketed thanks to tourism and billionaire cunts colonizing the islands and driving the cost of living up. The last time I was down there, it was, I think 2016 or 2017, it was already $2,500 a month minimum for a 1-bedroom or studio apartment. I don't even
God damn.
want to know how much that cost has skyrocketed to at this point in the years since. I'd have to look it up to see. But there's literally if you want to find somewhere to live, you're going to be paying $1,000, $1,500 just for a room to rent. You know, like, it's fucking ridiculous. And how are you gonna afford that if you're only making $11, $12 an hour at some fucking service industry job cleaning a fucking hotel after billionaire fucking cunts coming there on vacation? Get the fuck out of here. Comrade
Yep.
Joe, I see you've got your hand raised. Do tell, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I think very deeply. No, but what I wanted to get on is y'all mentioned the Haitian Revolution, and I forgot what study group I was on. I think it's with the New African Broadcast Association, and them, and they were I think there was something that happened maybe a month or two ago. Maybe there was the anniversary of the Haitian rebellion against the French colonial ruling. But if I'm not mistaken, it was like real positive because they fought them back and they actually took back Haiti. Or am I mistaken? Because that's why I'm asking the question. Because when we were reading that, and I believe it's Haiti, when we were reading it, I was like, whoa, this is like really, really heavy. And as revolutionaries, they set good examples. Does anyone else know anything about that? That's what I wanted to ask. Thank you.
I personally don't. I haven't checked on an update on the situation there in Haiti in a while, but if
It was the
anybody else-
history of it when they actually fought off and what they had to endure with and fighting them off, but then in the end prevailing was kind of inspirational for us as revolutionaries trying to fight for land back and sovereignty today.
Like, I know that they basically, and I'll put this in loose fucking air quotes again too, it regained their independence, but not fully, because they're still, as far as I know, stuck paying France to leave. Of like they owe compensation to France you know, of like, okay, we'll pay you since we're not letting you steal our fucking resources and enslave our
Ah.
people, or we'll pay you some fucking, you know, compensation for that. And that part's fucked. Shanti, might you have some wisdom on this one?
I did know. I do know of the history. It's been how many years? It's been like 6 years since I actually learned about the history. Like that was probably the first time that I had learned anything about the Haitian Revolution beyond the fact that Toussaint Louverture was in it. And there was this figure, Francois Macondo, that was one of the first ones to really like be a game changer when it came to the Haitian Revolution years before it became the actual Haitian Revolution. There's not much history on him. Many of the history has been physically destroyed, so they could only rely on oral tradition and oral knowledge. There's this essay that they've done on him from the University of Kentucky, I believe, which I know the University of Kentucky, I know, but that was like the main definitive essay and biography on him and what he did, and also basing off on the oral knowledge of what he had done. And he played a big role in the Haitian Revolution even happening because the leading event that led to the Haitian Revolution being kicked off was that Vaudon was starting to be developed. And so it was combining indigenous African spiritualities with some elements of Catholicism, because back then it was called Saint-Domingue under French occupation. And so Vaudon was starting to be developed. It was starting to be formulated. And when Vaudon was, actually close to being fully formulated, I believe they engaged the people, the enslaved indigenous Africans. They did some ceremony, and that essentially went on from there. Like it was a full-blown rebellion, I believe, the next day, and that was what really kicked off the Haitian Revolution for those 13 years. And what Francois Macondo did in the knowledge that they have on him was very, very influential to the enslaved indigenous Africans, especially at that time, because France was, going through its own revolution back in France, I believe, at the same time. And, it's so much that went down within that time frame leading up to Haiti becoming mostly independent, but still being under control of the French, of course. But, that was a big stepping stone for the fight of liberation and self-determination amongst colonized and enslaved people, especially in the Caribbean, because mind you, this is Taino land that we're talking about. So the fact that that enslaved indigenous Africans were able to do this on a half sector of Taino land and be able to free what became the Dominican Republic, but then the France came in and destroyed it immediately after, and played a big role in the dynamics between Haiti and the DR today. That history is very, very important to note, because I know that a lot of people like to cast lies on Haiti, especially assimilated Dominicans, Dominicans that are engaging in anti-Haitianism and anti-Haitianist violence. You know, there's a lot of history that is untold and unsung and always distorted and always twisted. And I think that should really be given the forefront, because this was once again the big stepping stone in the fight for land back, for liberation, for self-determination, for the people and the land.
You know, that makes me curious if maybe the circumstances around that situation fed into, you know, voodoo and whatnot being demonized as a spiritual practice, because of those things being part of what inspired them to fight back and reclaim their fucking autonomy and identity.
Right. It was
I look at
voodoo.
that too. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because voodoo, if I remember correctly, voodoo is an I definitely need to do I definitely need to do more study on voodoo and not the fucking white supremacist shit, like the actual fucking history of the actual tradition. But if I remember correctly, voodoo is an African religion, if I remember correctly, and it was vital when it came to the Haitian Revolution and radicalizing the people by using voodoo and African belief in order to kind of radicalize them. It was kind of like a cultural revolution in a way.
Well, Shanti, you might know more about this than I do. If I remember correctly, I believe voodoo came to fruition as like a blending of Yoruba teachings and some Taino spiritual teachings and other things coming together and forming this new practice of voodoo.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly what happened, because just like here within these borders in Haiti, it was exactly the same thing. You know, enslaved indigenous Africans were not allowed to even practice their indigenous spiritualities, you know, because, you know, it scared the slave owners. And so once again, they started doing it in secrecy. And, you know, Quisqueya is a pretty big island. It's a very big island, just like Cuba. And so, you know, they had some very strategic spaces where that kind of where voodoo was being developed in secrecy, and then it became a weapon of liberation for those people. But you know, even still, it's so demonized and so vilified as being just quote unquote witchcraft that even assimilated new Africans don't even trust it, because they feel that, you know, it's just spirits. No, it was their ancestors that did the calling. It was the ancestors that gave them that voice, that willpower to fight. The ancestors is what they heard, which make them revolt back. Right. Those are the ancestors, not just some, you know, some evil
demons,
spirit.
quote unquote.
You know, just like hoodoo here, is the exact same thing. So the fact that they uplift these Abrahamic religions and not re-indigenized spiritual systems that are literally weapons of liberation, it shows how deep colonialism is, and it shows that even under colonialism, you know, reclaiming your roots in these transformed ways will get you neutralized by the oppressors, by the imperializers, by the puppets pulling the strings. And it's very important that the new generation and the new generation of children and youth, of African youth on this continent, know this, because this is their history, this is our livelihood, this is our destiny. And with them being brainwashed to be fixated on Christianity and Catholicism, is making them ignorant of their history, making them ignorant of their roots, making them ignorant of their culture, making them ignorant of their destiny, and to be able to break that cycle once and for all, to help them embrace hoodoo, to embrace Vodun, to embrace the spiritual systems of their ancestors and re-indigenize ones that have been used to fight back against our real enemies.
Right on.
And that's what Abrahamic religions have done to every form of the craft, every type of energy work, every type of spirituality that goes back to being nature-based. You know, and even to its own self, because look at what it's even done to Kabbalism, which is basically the form of the craft practiced under Judaism. And what it comes down to is that practicing these forms of energy work is empowering. And that system that utilizes Christianity and other Abrahamic religions as tools for controlling the populace and whatnot, condemn that because they're like, oh, wait, how dare you invoke power within yourself? You're supposed to seek it outside of yourself in the one that we tell you to worship.
Yep.
And so they demonize these things that people find personally empowering and shit all over these practices and try to, you know, make them out to be some harmful thing. And it's like, what are you scared of? What are you really scared of? Are you scared of somebody realizing their own personal power and invoking that within themselves and fighting the fuck back against your shit? Because this speaks volumes on like far deeper facets of psychology and your emotional state than it does just, you know, the religious practice itself. It has to do with the effect you have on yourself in practicing these things and how that inspires and motivates and empowers you to actually fight back against oppression. And so every fucking where that we can see that colonization via, you know, Christians, Muslims, and Judaism has fucking tried to squash any type of nature-based spirituality. We see it here. We see it in the parts of Europe that are colonized. We see it in the islands that are colonized, the whole fucking 9 yards of this being something that for some reason they find seriously fucking threatening because it undermines their ability to fucking control people and therefore control society. And it's like, that doesn't make any of this shit harmful. That makes your shit harmful, motherfuckers. Joe, I see you've got your hand up. Go for it, comrade.
Yes, well, we're going back to voodoo. That is a African spiritualism descent. But when it mended with the spiritualism of not just the Tainos, but other indigenous cultures, not just on the islands, but all through Mexico, and then with Catholicism getting all the way up in it, and to where it kind of became a mending of what they call Santeria now today.
Yeah.
But Santeria has indigenous spiritual beliefs and African spiritual beliefs, with the melee of bringing in the saints from Catholicism. And so the roots are old, but what it is now is not probably what it was. It even whitewashed that. But I wanted to say also one thing. I got to get ready. I have a study group to go on with La Mesa, and I got to prepare myself. I got like 15 minutes to get ready.
Oh shit, it's 8. I just saw that.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean to cut it off because I always enjoy listening to you all talk and stuff and express yourselves. And believe me, I'm listening. I'm paying attention. I might not always speak because I like to be quiet sometimes too. But And I'd rather sometimes absorb and learn, and that's why I think I have two ears and one mouth, they say. But no, it's always a pleasure being on here with you, comrades.
Right
Oh,
on.
then one more thing, Sean, if you can send me the name, I think that was the lesson. It was of that one, the one that helped inspired that Haitian revolution. You mentioned his name, and I don't know how to pronounce it or spell it, but if you can send it to me so I can look up on it some more, I would definitely appreciate that, because even all of us, we could if he's able to put it on here and he could send it to me directly, because I got to get off of here. I think we could look into that, because that was really inspirational when we studied on that a couple months back. And that's all.
Shanti may just message saying Francois Macandal. I'm pretty sure I butchered that name.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. If you could send me the correct spelling to it, so I can review it after, because I got to get ready to go. But anyway, revolutionary love, comrades, and
All power.
look for all power to the peoples, and we got this. Let us not. We're always learning so much every time, and it makes us so much stronger. So hang in there, brothers and sisters.
It's one thing I really love about doing these reading groups too, is because we're all learning so much from each other and each other's perspectives or each other's knowledge bases, and it's fucking beautiful.
Yep.
I know we did talk about this before starting the, like if everybody's cool, we can keep going a little bit longer. We are at about 2 hours and 15 minutes right now. But I know, there's still another section or two of case numbers that we were wanting to cover today. So, we can go ahead and make this one a long one if you guys are down for that. Can I see a show of hands? Anybody who's down to keep going?
I'm down to keep going. I was just going to say that that we read case 5, and then we end it here. If we want to keep on talking, we can, but it's probably best to end the recording with case 5.
Sounds like a good plan. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm down to read case 5, but if anyone else wants to, that's fine too.
Well, I figured I would ask Rod if he wants to turn reading first.
Right.
I think he's the only one left that hasn't had a chance to read, other than Dr. Rob, who is kind of popping in and out because he's helping his kids with his homework right now too. So he might be back in a few. But Comrade Rod, do you want to turn reading?
I'm ready.
Right on. Awesome. Go for it, Comrade.
Thank you. Case number 5. Puerperal psychosis in refugees. Puerperal psychosis refers to those mental disorders which occur in women during maternity. Such disorders can occur immediately before or several weeks after childbirth. Their psychological determinism is highly complex. The two major causes are thought to be a disruption to the endocrine glands and the occurrence of a psychological shock, a term that, although vague, corresponds roughly to what is commonly known as bad fright. Ever since the French government's decision to apply their scorched earth policy and establish a buffer zone over hundreds of kilometers, there are almost 300,000 refugees along the Tunisian and Moroccan borders. The state of dire poverty they live in is no secret. International Red Cross commissions have paid them a number of visits, and on ascertaining their extreme poverty and precarious living conditions, they recommended increased aid by international organizations. Given the malnutrition that is rampant in these camps, it is therefore inevitable that the pregnant women are particularly prone to developing puerperal psychosis. These refugees live in an atmosphere of permanent insecurity. The combined effects of frequent raids by French troops applying the right to hunt and pursue, aerial bombardments, there is no end to the bombing of Moroccan and Tunisian territories by the French army, and Sakiet Sidi Youssef. The martyred village in Tunisia is the bloodiest example. Machine gun raids as well as the breakup of the family unit as a result of flight. In truth, there are few Algerian women refugees who do not suffer from mental disorders following childbirth. There are various symptoms. Agitation, sometimes accompanied by furor, deep asthenic depression coupled with multiple suicide attempts. Symptoms of anxiety accompanied by tears, lamentations, and appeals for mercy, etc. Likewise, the delusional disorders present many different characteristics. A delusion of vague persecution aimed at anyone, a delirious aggressivity aimed at the French, who want to kill the unborn or newborn child, an impression of imminent death in which the mothers beg the invisible killers to spare their children. Once again, we must point out that the underlying problem is not solved by sedation or a reversal of the symptoms. Even after the patient has been cured, her predicament maintains and nurtures these pathological complications.
God damn. That right
Fucking
there.
heartbreaking.
The fact that the fact that they are because they should the fact that they are so traumatized and so abused that they're begging invisible men to spare their children. That's just fucking sad. God damn. Holy shit.
Do I
Everything.
do I continue?
No. It's best that we stop here.
Oh, okay.
Series
Yeah.
C is the set we're gonna pick up at next week. But I'm astonished. It's already a really pervasive problem that just even living under capitalism and colonization has severe fucking effects on women having like postpartum, disorder or syndrome, that it's mentally and emotionally breaking for some people to have to deal with after, giving birth. But to see it to that degree because of them having to deal with so much violence directly and constantly, that they're hallucinating, there's people there to kill their children that they just gave birth to. It's fucking devastating.
Yeah.
It's a
God
lot
damn,
to
bro.
take in.
Like it is already traumatic enough dealing with this colonizer. With it's already fucking hard enough for colonized people dealing with colonization, not just physically but psychologically as well.
Yeah.
But for mothers to worry about their children in a time of war and begging them and having delusions of people coming and killing their children and begging them, like, that's just fucking depressing as fuck. Ugh.
That's haunting.
Yeah.
That's haunting. And what is very important to note is that mothers of any gender experience that deals with this type of thing, with postpartum difficulties after conceiving a child, capitalism and colonialism exacerbated to the max, no matter if it's direct violence or like inadvertent violence. But one thing is for certain is that colonialism and capitalism exacerbate the problem when, if it does arose, if postpartum depression does occur, the conditions in which the mother was in before, during, and after conceiving the child, you know, it's pushed to the max, and it's essentially a culmination of everything just boiling over into delusions, into actually murdering their own children, and other things. And that's the thing that we don't really deal with, is that the underlying institutional and political entities that make postpartum difficulties that much tragic and that much devastating and that much physically and psychologically depleting. And in this case here, you know, the fact that she's having these delusions on top of the violence of the French colonizers, like what more can you really say about that? Because this is what's still happening to many of us today. You know, it's still happening. And so it's very tragic and very very devastating that these realities even exist. But you know, once again, they are the realities in which we are in. And so, like, you know, it can be very very hard to kind of deal with them, especially in this case, because sometimes it can be inevitable with all of that going on, culminating into into a literal atomic bomb of your life. But you know, the fact that it even has to happen, the fact that this is the reality for plenty of colonized mothers, is very very devastating, to say the least.
I mean, even like when it comes to postpartum depression, that can be triggered by something as simple as feeling like you don't have the proper support network that you need to even heal up after birth, and being able to, you know, meet your own needs in healing, let alone meet the needs of this child. Like, you know, that's something that can be triggered by something that fucking simple of, like, you know, oh, your partner is, you know, working a million fucking hours a week to try to, you know, keep the roof over your heads and food in your bellies, and is unable to be there and present and helping and whatnot. Just even that lack of support, you know. So to be dealing with these circumstances where in many of their cases their partner was fucking murdered, their family members were fucking murdered,
Right.
you know, everyone around them was getting fucking murdered, and they're having to escape those circumstances to even fucking survive themselves. It's no fucking wonder that these type of hallucinations are happening, of seeing, you know, probably the faces of the people who killed their parents, their siblings, their partner, their entire support network,
Their community.
Yeah, it's fucking devastating. Like, how do you feel like you have anywhere to turn for support and help with healing, and, you know, with the village needed to raise a child?
It's just someone
When they're all
being
dead.
there. Just feeling the presence of someone there. At least. Feeling like there's no way out. And that's the case here.
It can break someone.
and it's sad because then it's a domino effect from there, because when your primary caregivers are being broken by societal circumstances going on around them, that affects their ability to form healthy bonds with the babies. And so those babies grow up not even being fucking consciously aware of the fact that they don't have healthy attachments because they weren't able to establish that with their primary caregivers, whether it be, their mother or the mother's partners or the rest of the family, the rest of the community. When that's taken away, then those children grow up having unhealthy attachment styles of being avoidant or forming anxious attachments, to no fault of their own, because their parents, when you're a new mother and this is the type of shit that you're fucking dealing with, that makes it that much harder to be present for your child in the way that they need and be able to be responsive to their needs and even build those neural pathways that say I'm secure.
This shit right here, this generational trauma.
I was just about to say that.
This shit right here is literally generational trauma. It's still happening to this very fucking day. And this affects entire generations afterwards.
This is how trauma pays itself forward fucking directly. God, it's so fucked. And that's one of those things that, like, even if you, as an adult, gain the awareness that, okay, I didn't learn healthy attachment styles because my parents themselves were removed from that capacity because of the things that happened to them. You know how much work that is to unfuck your own mind of those unhealthy attachment styles, to literally have to go through the daily mindfulness of practicing neuroplasticity, of telling your brain to respond in a different manner to certain stimuli in order to actually be able to fucking form new neural pathways and condition yourself instead towards healthy attachments. That's a lot of fucking psychological work to have to do on oneself after having been harmed in these manners.
Yup. And due to their parents being ripped away from that healthy environment, they won't be able to teach them how to engage in healthy relationships. And then they'll go on, and then they'll have children, and then their children won't know how to do it, and so on and so forth.
Yep. I mean, it's another parallel we can see right here. The trauma that the silent generation went through because of extreme famine, of everything fucking tanking economically in the 20s, teens and 20s of the Great Depression. That's part of where they fucking earned their name of being called the silent generation, because they were fucking shell-shocked from everything happening. And then they birthed and raised the boomers, who became extremely fucking reactionary and developed these fuck you, other people have it harder, so suck it up, you pussy type fucking attitudes that, fed things like nobody wants to work anymore and pull yourself up from your bootstrap type ideologies, and basically fuck you, I suffered, so you should have to suffer too type ideologies. And then they birthed, Gen X, who is like, oh my God, fuck all of this. And then us millennials who are like, can we try to heal this? And, look how many generations it's taken to get to the point where, like, millennials and Gen Z are going, maybe we should start to undo some of this generational trauma and try gentler parenting and try actually establishing healthy attachments with our children and help heal some of these things.
Yup.
Mm-hmm.
That right there like I've said this before and I've said it again. Under a capitalist society, we are all traumatized. All of us have trauma. Like it does not matter. Like obviously, it does not matter if you lived in a healthy upbringing, which I hope people live in, but just living under the constant threat that any day you could lose your very livelihood if you don't get a paycheck. That's traumatizing. That's trauma right there.
It's
Right,
around.
perpetual.
It's
The,
around.
the constant stress, the constant feeling that at any fucking moment your entire livelihood could fucking change because the rent went up, or because your wages were cut, or because your hours were lowered, or because fucking taxes went up, and so on and so forth. That's traumatizing.
It's
That's fucking
traumatizing.
trauma.
It's traumatizing, and as long as it exists, as long as we allow this to exist, then we will continue to be traumatized and not be able to even like think properly, because once again, it surrounds you. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if you're in a so-called nice neighborhood with 20-story buildings with white, black, and gray all over with terrible font. It doesn't matter because it surrounds you.
Yep.
And because it surrounds you, you're just as much involved in what everyone else is.
It's
That
systemic.
the fact that you could be so-called healthy one day and get completely disabled the next and be completely discarded in a matter of 24, 48 hours, i.e. COVID.
Yep.
Like that is what capitalism does. That's what colonialism does, is that they give you this illusion of the so-called good life until something happens that will make them profit off of you in any kind of way, by kicking you out of your apartment, kicking you out of your home, not giving you any kind of so-called livable wage, to be able to get the resources that they hoard, that these billionaires hoard, that these capitalist entities hoard. They are hoarding those resources. And the fact that, that we could pay like 150 for groceries this day and then pay like 300 the next. That is the reality that they have created. This is the reality in which we are in. This is the reality right now. And as long as we don't deal with it, we will continue to be traumatized by it. We will continue to not even like, quote unquote, live properly, because once again, it surrounds all of us. Yep. And once again, we cannot think standard. There's no such thing as a standard brain. If there was such thing, we would be dead. But that's the point, because they rely on us conforming neurologically to their system in order to have it keep going. And if we don't, then them killing us will be their wealth, to compensate. So once again, as long as we continue to allow these systems to destroy our land, to hoard our resources, to kill more of us, this is the reality that we have to face.
It's really saddening, honestly.
One of those things that really fucking highlights that if we actually want the next generation and the generation after that and after that to actually fucking have a dignified life, to be able to live in healthy manners, to at this point to even be able to survive what's happening environmentally, we've got to fucking change shit. At this point, it's not just we want something better than what we're dealing with under capitalism and colonialism. We need it. It is fucking necessary, because otherwise we're allowing the
then-
continuation of destruction, not just of the planet that is the only fucking one we have to live on, but destruction of ourselves as human fucking beings, as a society, as people. We are not even being allowed to just be, to exist, and to have that dignified fucking life. And how can you, if we are stuck in systems that perpetuate generational trauma like this and continually fucking destroy people mentally, emotionally, and psychologically, to the point that, I mean, look around us. We've got people going, fuck this, it ain't fucking worth it at this point. Because why should anybody want to fucking work 100 hours a week just to pay the fucking rent and still not having anything above that to go on any other fucking cost of living? Because these fucking capitalist cunts are like, my profit margins and my ability to buy a fucking 17th yacht is more important than you getting to fucking live. Go live in your car. We don't fucking care. Have fun starving. It's fucking ridiculously abusive.
It's
And
ridiculous. It must end. And look at the Maui fires. This reaffirms what the Native Hawaiians have been saying for years. They don't need tourism anymore.
Yep. They
Get
need
them
decolonization.
Get them out, because that's their pre-colonial capital being in ashes 130 years after they were colonized by the US. 130 years. And these haoles still want to complain about their vacation being ruined on native land? Are you serious?
Fuck that bullshit.
The native Hawaiians have been so psychologically torn down because of its colonialism, because they have been so psychologically stripped of who they are. That fight to resist, to fight back against what they've been dealing with since Captain Cook even came to Hawaii. For all those years that it has resulted to this. They already had the fires back in 2019, but this, I don't know how much more destruction has to happen before people realize that maybe we should tear all this shit down, because this is not working. This is not working for anybody. And the Native Hawaiians have been saying for years for people to not come to Hawaii anymore, because it's wasting their water. It's wasting their land. It's wasting their space. It's wasting their resources that their ancestors had for 200 whole generations before Captain Cook came. So the fact that these fires had to happen 130 years after they were occupied by the US and their queen was essentially assassinated and thrown into their jails. Really? When I found that out, I had never been more enraged in my life, because once again, this is history in motion. This is colonialism in motion. None of the people here have no sense of reality whatsoever. The Native Hawaiians, the Kanaka Maoli, have been telling these people for years, especially during COVID, because it's still happening, okay? They have been telling these people for years to stop coming. But they still did not listen, did they? They did not. And now look, their pre-colonial capital is literally in ashes, and about 100 people, God knows how many people dead, about 1,000 missing. 1,000 missing.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, they've only been able to search, I think there's about 3 to 4% of the area that is fucking devastated by this fire. So who knows how many more they'll find. I actually just went to a friend's page because he's been posting updates on this, and 5 days ago there was 36 people listed dead. I don't know what that number is up to now.
It's about 100.
And it's fucking just absolutely fucking heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
I'm trying to find Ben's post here where he had detailed it because, okay, this shit goes back to corporatocracy. Part of the reason, now granted, this supposedly started as a wildfire, but part of the problem of why it was allowed to spread so far is because of the lack of access to water, because there are corporations there that for a long fucking time have basically
Have
held
been
ownership.
And sucking
Oh.
them dry.
Yes, quite fucking literally, of using up all of the water fucking resources, where it's like, okay, this has devastated the land and left it over dried, where it is to the point of like, it is just a big brush fire waiting to fucking happen and spread, because the natural waterways that would be keeping the soil moist and
They're not
things
there.
like that are being fucking drained dry for these fucking corporations.
Right. And
Yup.
there was also a hurricane that was happening at the same time that exacerbated it.
A Cat 4.
It was a hurricane caused by climate change, caused by capitalism once again.
Yup.
Once again, we've been saying this for decades. Decades, people, that resulted in this happening. And already the capitalists are already, having their red dream being satisfied, trying to find land, more land to take up. This is the exact same story as the New Africans in New Orleans when Katrina happened. The same exploitation, the same destruction, and I really hope that these fires, once and for all, give the Native Hawaiians a chance to fight back, because enough has been enough. They have tolerated enough. They have tolerated enough of their people being genocided, given disease, almost killed off, just like the Spaniards did the Taínos. They have been through enough. Enough is enough. This is enough. This is enough. We've been through enough. Enough people have been killed enough. Enough land has been sucked dry completely and have been destroyed enough. This is enough.
At this point,
It's beyond enough.
sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead, Sean.
One last thing I do want to reaffirm: Hawaii is not a state. It is a nation under siege by the U.S. empire. It is not a state. Just like Alaska is not a state. It is not a state and will never ever be a state. No matter how many corporate entities are in Hawaii, it will not be a state. It is an indigenous sovereign nation under siege. That is Hawaii.
Yup.
That's what it is.
It's at this point where they're struggling to find places to evacuate people to. Meanwhile, fucking capitalist cunts like Oprah Winfrey own, and she owns, if I remember correctly, like 20,000 fucking acres on Maui.
And people still want to uplift her as this so-called Black figure that is so amazing and so inspirational. No, I don't care.
Fucking bullshit.
I don't care if she descends from the Temen people of Liberia. She is still a bougie capitalist.
Yep.
At the
She's a comprador.
She is still part of the ruling class. I don't give a damn if she's from the deep south. I don't care if she's from Memphis. I don't care if she's from New Orleans. I don't give a damn if she's from freaking Nashville, where she got off the ground. I don't care. I do not care where she came from. I don't know. I don't care what her roots is. The fact of the matter is she weaponizes her identity as well in order to get more from the lumpen proletarians, us, and to be able to do what every other ruling class person is doing, just like Mark Zuckerberg in Hawaii as well, I believe. So,
Yep. Zuckerberg's another one that owns thousands of acres.
That is
and Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
Isn't Elon Musk as well?
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up. I'm not sure, but I do know that Zuckerberg and Oprah are both
Yes.
owners of massive fucking swaths of land there. And if anybody in Hawaii happens to watch this, I hope that what's happening right fucking now inspires the indigenous people of Hawaii to go, enough is
Fuck
enough,
it.
like you're saying, Shanti, fucking
Is-
enough, and to seize their fucking land back
Back.
from
Yep.
Oprah,
They're-
from Fuckerberg,
Revolt.
Hear their
from
queen's
Musk, too, if
voice.
he owns any land there. They do not have the right to hold ownership over land that is absolutely fucking needed at this point by the indigenous people of Hawaii. And I hope they also kick these fucked corporations the fuck off their islands
They
and
need
tell
to-
them no more are you going to rape and exploit our fucking resources and leave our fucking islands open to absolute devastation because you think you are more entitled to the fucking water itself than the people in the land are.
Like they need to be kicked off. They need to be kicked off. This is 130 years long enough. This is long enough, okay? They've already been through Captain Cook. They cannot go through any more of this. They have to hear their queen's voice.
Yup.
They have to hear the queen's voice, the same queen that they overthrew and took into prison to take siege of Hawaii. They have to hear their queen's voice once and for all. They have
Yo,
to snap
Shanti.
it and hear their queen's voice.
Yo, Shanti. Remember, I was gonna add, remember that one fucking European colonizer shithead on Facebook that said that the queen quote unquote sold Hawaii?
Did not
fucking
imprisoned. She was overthrown and imprisoned. She did not sell a damn thing. They came over and took over. They came and took over. They took over the native Hawaiian schools, closed every single one of them down, and imprisoned their queen. That's what happened.
Yep. And honestly, sorry.
That's what happened.
Yep. It's fucking sickening and absolutely disgusting and abhorrent that has been used to quote unquote justify colonialism. That absolute fucking lie. Because I'm sure we have all I'm sure all of us in history class have been told that bullshit lie that the Europeans didn't colonize and steal Africans. The African leaders just sold them to the Europeans. They didn't actually steal them. I'm sure we've all heard that fucking white supremacist fucking whitewashed lie. Like, no, they were fucking stolen. They were colonized. They were fucking enslaved, fucking siphoned of their resources and labor and fucking forced out of their fucking homes. That's what happened.
That's what happened. We did not have those systems at all. I talked about this last week. We did not have those systems at all. And once again, you wonder why you don't hear about any word for jail or prison in the Igbo language, because we did not have those systems. They were placed there. They were placed there. They were placed on the land of the Igbo, the Yoruba, the Ewe, the Zulus, the Bakongos, the Tenmes, the Susus, the Boobies. They have been placed there. They have been placed there. And the fact that our indigeneity was removed when we were enslaved, and the fact that some of our enslaved ancestors had the courage to resist in any way they could, not by voting, not by becoming citizens of the empire that they are building up while being raped and being killed and being, commodified to, Western enslavers. The fact that we have resisted and have the heritage that we have today is because, once again, we have resisted. But the fact of the matter is the psychological torment that slavery still has, because it still exists through the prison system. It's so taxing on us. And, once again, we have been through hell, and hell, even more than just hell, because, once again, this is the reality of what our ancestors face. And because we have been so brainwashed for so long, it has resulted in, the Maui fires happening, more climate emergencies happening, fascism literally not turning back at all anymore. Because now we're starting to see that, okay, we need to deal with this now. Like, this is what we have to deal with. This is what we have to confront. This is our reality. This is our reality that we have collectively overall have ignored for long enough. We have kept our heads down for long enough. We have let it ride. We have let enough people destroy more of us through the crime bill, the crack crisis, the heroin crisis, the opioid crisis, the 3 strikes law, and other racist, racialist systems of oppression that we have been under. And the fact that it even had to get to this point, to a pre-colonial capital being in ashes, that is enough.
Damn right, it's enough.
Well said.
That is enough. Because once again, why are we still not dealing with this reality? Because the longer we ignore reality, the more this is going to happen.
Yep.
Until we have nothing left. Okay? Because this is our world. This is our land. This is our resources still in the hands of these people, of these systems. Burkina Faso is already resisting. Niger is already fighting back. Mali is already fighting back. Senegal is already fighting back against the same people that have sucked them dry for a few centuries now. They are already fighting back. What about us over here? What are we doing?
We have to get our shit together.
Gladly, there is a lot of people working on, organizing and actually getting some things in place to build dual power so that we are actually self-sustainable in order to be able to fucking take on the work of doing a revolution, because we cannot count on the system that we need to overthrow to basically, supply us with food or whatever other needs that we have. We have to be able to, as a community, meet those needs with each other and for each other. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, we have been gaslit. We have been beaten down to the point that so many fucking people think that there's nothing that they can do. And it's like, no, there absolutely is. You might only be one person, but all these people who are out here going, but I'm just one person, guess what? When you come together, you're a lot fucking more.
Yep.
And it comes back to that very simple example of being able to go, okay, one individual, one finger at a time, easily fucking bent, form a fucking fist. When you come together like that, you can't fucking pull that apart. You can't bend those fingers any further. Our strength is together in our numbers. And at this point, we don't have a choice. It is either survive or die. And the only fucking path to actually survive is to overthrow this shit.
Yep.
We have to violently overthrow this shit because it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time before all actually explodes at the same time. It's already exploding. It's a matter of time.
Yeah, we are literally running out of time.
We perish. That's it. You can't have either or. You cannot be for revolution and not and keep one entity open. You cannot do that. Either you're for the liberation of all people, for all of us, for our land, for our earth, or you're not. That's your choice.
Right. Fact of
Yup.
the matter is, the corporations in the US military industrial complex at this point have caused so much fucking damage to the environment that we are literally running out of time to stop them. Global scientists met up a couple of months ago with, these fucking shills that everybody considers to be global leaders, and warned them, we have 10 fucking years, a blink of an eye, to fucking get to zero carbon emissions, or it's going to push the contamination in our fucking ecosystem, in our fucking air here alone, to the point that there will be catastrophic loss of life. Because
Mass
it's
extinction.
the point that if we keep it going and dumping more carbon dioxide, and that's just one greenhouse gas, we keep dumping it in the amounts that we are right now, there is not enough algae in the water, enough trees on the land, etc., to compensate for the sheer amount of carbon dioxide waste we are kicking into the fucking atmosphere. We are going to see catastrophic loss of fucking life. We do not have a choice of whether or not to overthrow these fucked corporations,
We don't have 50 more years.
and the fucked military that is caring more about their fucking profit margins than whether life itself gets to continue to exist. Every one of those fucking assholes who are world leaders who met up in that fucking conference, their response to the scientists was, but what about my profit margins? Motherfucker, your money isn't real. Your money is a concept. We're talking about reality of people who actually exist. Fucking a planet that actually exists. Fucking, how about we get back to reality? Fuck your conception of money. Fuck your, hoarding of resources. Fuck your exploitation of every fucking one and every fucking thing and destroying it in your fucking path so that you can fucking live lavishly for the next 10 years before everything starts turning into a fucking Mad Max world where we might have, a few people, a handful of people fucking survive it. We have to change how the fuck we operate. We have to actually stop these fucking multi-trillion-dollar fucking global conglomerate corporations from destroying life itself, and stop the fucking military industrial complex from destroying life itself, or existence as we know it is going to cease to be. I, for one, would much rather tank every one of those fucking companies and completely end the military industrial complex and us getting back to how we should be living, how humans have lived on this planet. Think about this. Okay, humans in our current form anyways, because our previous ancestors go back millions of years, but humans in our current form have walked this earth, have lived here for 200,000 years. 200,000 fucking years. Capitalism has only existed for about 500 fucking years, and look how quickly it has caused utter devastation. Maybe, just maybe, we should go back to how we actually fucking survive and thrive best, which is as communities, which is living in unison with nature instead of exploiting it and damaging it.
Exploiting it and damaging it, because we don't operate like this. We never ever did. We don't have 50 more years. You already lost that opportunity.
We don't have any more time. It's either, as a species, as a fucking species, not only can we do better, we need to do better. Because if we don't, we are all going to fucking die. This is a matter of this is a matter of fighting for liberation or not fighting at all and risking extinction for all of us. Just because a couple of motherfuckers on Earth want to increase their profit by 1.1%, a little bit more, by destroying all life on fucking Earth. We have to do something about this. We have to do something. We have to change how we operate. We have to uproot this socioeconomic system and replace it with a new socioeconomic system, a new mode of production, new relations of production, new social relations. We need to replace it. We need to replace it entirely with something new, with socialism, with liberation. We need to do something, because if we don't, we're all gonna fucking die.
We are. And this is what Fred Hampton had been doing before they killed him. And when they killed him, everything went into such a standstill that it's still affecting us, or we allow it to affect us, 50 years after they killed him. And so these people, we have to listen to our ancestors' voices. They are already ringing out in the sky, in the sun, in our trees, in our lawns. They are screaming for us to fight back for them, for us, for this land.
Yep. And that right there is why we have been screaming land back for so many fucking years. And a lot of people don't even understand what the fuck that term means. And they think that it means like, oh, you want to make every white person in the United States move back to Europe. And it's like, no, you fucking moron. Land back means giving stewardship over the land and the water back to the indigenous people who are still living in unison with nature and understand our connection with nature, and having them have control over what is allowed to happen to the land and the water, not these fucking white capitalist, crusty old fucking cunts that are in the US government. Land back means that the proper stewards of our lands have the self-determination back to actually have that authority over what is allowed to happen to the land and the water, because they're the ones who know how to fucking preserve it. They're the ones we need to learn from in order to unfuck our minds of what we have gotten conditioned to and accustomed to living under colonization and capitalism. Because we don't fucking know as a society how to live in unison with nature. And the indigenous people who refused to fucking live according to, capitalism and colonization, and we're like, no, we are going to continue to live in our tribal manners and live in the manners that respect nature, respect the earth and all of her resources, and honor that. Those are the people we need to be learning from so that we can unfuck the entire planet. It speaks not just to the indigenous here of Turtle Island, but the indigenous peoples who still exist in pockets of areas that have been colonized all over the rest of the fucking planet, of like, excuse me, the people who the fucking media likes to call third world, of like, oh, you're still living in unison with nature? Why haven't you revolutionized and become civilized, which is so fucking uncivilized? They're the ones who actually know how to fucking survive these things. And this is also why we say that the revolution cannot and will not be led by white people.
No.
Because they have been for so long, so far fucking separated from our actual natural connection with the earth, with nature, with everything. And it goes back to the very roots of the colonization we were referring to earlier, the forms of it, of basically attacking every fucking society whose spirituality was nature-based and demonizing those people. That's where that started, of separating people from our connection with nature. And it's done nothing but harm us. It's done nothing but fuck us as an entire planet. For those systems of Abrahamic religion combined with capitalism, combined with colonization, absolutely pillaging the entire fucking planet and forcing people into this assimilation of this fucked manner of existing that has separated us from our knowledge of ourselves, our awareness of ourselves as a part of nature. and that, you know, they don't even want people to understand really chemistry and physics, because if you did, you would understand how you are literally on the subatomic level. Every particle of your being is fucking connected energetically with every other particle in existence.
Yep.
Yes.
Even on the other side of the universe. Even on the other side of the fucking universe.
Yes, that is what quantum entanglement is particles interacting with each other from immeasurable fucking distances.
That's beautiful right there. Like, but like, you know, yeah, and to touch on what you were saying, sisters, and I've said before, and I'll say it, and I'll say it again. Non-white people, colonized people, are the ones that are going to lead the revolution, because they are the ones that know how to combat decolonization. They're the ones that know how to combat white supremacy, racism, and the contradictions of capitalism. How are we as white people going to combat oppression that we have never been oppressed by? It makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. I've said before, and I'll say it again, to be a genuine colonizer comrade means to give up your white privilege. It means to betray your whiteness. It means to unlearn living with your whiteness. It means to give it up and struggle alongside non-white people. Learn from them, understand from their perspective, and how to engage in radicalizing your own communities through their guidance. That's what we have to fucking do. That's literally what the White Panthers do. The White Panthers are literally guided by the New African Black Panther Party. That's the shit that we have to fucking do. I keep on saying it over and over and over again, and these fucking ML revisionist fucking shitheads always get so fucking pissed off whenever I tell them that white people will not lead the revolution, and that non-white people as a whole have always led the revolution. From the Bolshevik Revolution up until now, there's always been colonized non-white people. I keep on telling these people, you know who are the primary, who primarily composed the Bolshevik Revolution? Jewish people who were not considered fucking white by the Tsar. Literally.
Well, I mean, because most of us aren't.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I mean, that's one thing too that it has been inaccurately perceived by the rest of the world, because of there being the Ashkenazi branch of Jews that, you know, did intermarry a lot with white people of Europe and therefore became lighter toned. But those of us who are Sephardic and Mizrahi, you see, we are more brown. You know, that you know, we're West Asian. You know? And so yeah, that was definitely a fucking factor there, of even that revolution was being led by people who were anywhere from dark white to brown leading that revolution, you know.
How Lenin was Jewish. Lenin was literally Jewish, and he wasn't even considered white by the Tsar. Literally.
No, well, no, because they weren't, you know, white.
No. They weren't quote unquote European enough.
Right. It's colorism, you know, and it's all trash. But that's actually one of the things that I have talked with people about for a long fucking time, of motherfucker, how about you put your white privilege to fucking use, to use your fucking voice to speak up for the people who are being oppressed by racism. How about you fucking use your white privilege to, you know, maybe show up to boots on the ground and use your white ass as a white fucking wall of shield to protect the people of color there, because the pigs will be less likely to just shoot you than they will a black person. Things like that, and made people really fucking think of, like, you know, what you can actually fucking do, because too many of them seem to latch onto the white savior fucking attitude and think that they're doing a solid by speaking over and for people of color. I mean, for fuck's sake, I even got into it with a guy a couple of weeks ago because he was trying to speak over and for, saying, you know, like, oh, well, Jewish people should be insulted by Star Trek. and trying to say that the Ferengi were supposed to be representative of Jewish people. And I'm like, excuse me, Jewish woman here, right here to fucking tell you that no, the Ferengi do not represent Jews and were never intended to be, that, you know, there's literally no factor of anti-Semitism being brought to the table in Star Trek there. If anything, the Ferengi were, you know, framed as being an antagonist society because they were capitalist exploiters, and it has nothing to do with Jews. And maybe you should look at how you perceive us, that
Yup.
that was the fucking interpretation that you fucking got.
Like, please pay attention. Like, can you please pay attention? Like, that's how you know they don't know what they're talking about. That's how you don't know their info, because the same shit that they spew out their mouth is what their privilege tells them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I was like, please fucking take off your Captain Sabaho cape, dear white fucking savior complex motherfucker, because not only are you not speaking up for Jewish people, but now you're trying to speak over one who's literally telling you that's not the fucking case. I mean, I broke it down for him of like, here's examples from the very beginnings of Star Trek of, you know, how many Jewish people are in the cast, in the writers, within the production crew, the whole fucking 9 yards. Like, do you not get that, you know, there's actually, he clearly hadn't paid attention. I even gave him a list of which movies to go watch again, of like, how about you look for the Jewish cultural influences happening here in these films, because you'll see, you know, like, hell, even in the new show, Picard, that's been out the last couple of years, that the reason why Picard was in such deep mourning over the loss of Data was because he wasn't allowed to sit Shiva for him. Get the fuck out of here with trying to pretend like there's something anti-Semitic there. But this is a commonality amongst people who really think that they're bringing some kind of revolutionary thought to the table and trying to paint something as what it's not and be like, oh, see, look at what they're doing, that's bad. And it's like, please stop trying to speak for people who you are not a part of. And it's super fucking frustrating because people get these ideas in their head of what it means to be an ally and don't understand that we don't want you to be an ally, we want you to be a comrade. And if all you're doing is this and trying to talk over us, you're not helping any fucking buddy. What we need you and want you to do is actually stand with us. Sorry, not sorry, but if a BIPOC person is bleeding and you're not close enough to get some of the splatter on you, you aren't doing shit. You should be standing there right by their fucking side and swinging back on whoever is assailing them. Fuck off if you're just talking on the internet.
Literally,
you know?
fucking
But
literally.
not doing anybody any fucking favors. And I mean, it applies across the board in so many fucking manners. And it's absolutely fucking frustrating because if somebody truly wants to be a comrade, they should sit down, shut the fuck up, open their fucking ears. Because as Joe said earlier, we've got 2 ears and only 1 mouth. Why? We should be listening twice as much. They need to actually learn from people and understand that it's not possible, you know, for you to actually speak for an oppressed group that you are not a part of. Please stop.
Right on. That's the equivalent. That's like you know, and that goes all over the board. You know, that's like that's like a neurotypical able-bodied person trying to speak for fucking neurodivergent, physically disabled people. Like, it doesn't fucking work. How are you gonna speak? How are you gonna speak for and over people that you're not part of and that you don't face the same oppression as, and expect that you're somehow bringing new ideas to the table? No, you should be shutting the fuck up and listening to those people.
Exactly, because they don't want to realize the reality that they could be disabled too.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want they want to hold on to their privilege.
They don't want to understand that they could be next too.
Yep. And it's a problem because it's like, how can they sit there and absolutely refuse to listen when people actually experiencing those forms of oppression are saying, hey, please stop trying to paint something as what it's not and tell me what the fuck to be offended by about something you perceived wrongly as a criticism of my ethnicity, when I'm literally telling you that you read that wrong and it has more to do with your perception that is fucked than it will ever have to do with my ethnic group, you know?
Yep, literally.
It's so fucking disturbing. But at least it's one of those things where, you know, bringing the thought full circle, where we can actually make use of white passing and white privilege to fucking actually do some good. Of, you know, that's why one of the tenets of the White Panther Party is that it is white people's job to confront and correct other white people on their fucked stances and fucked perspectives. That it is not, say, you know, the Black community's problem to counter white supremacy amongst white people. That's white people's problem to confront. That ain't the Black community's job. They got enough to deal with.
Yep.
Yeah.
It-
do.
Exactly.
Like, it's all
Love it.
fucked. You know, it's one of those things that just really pisses me off about the state of being of society at this fucking point. But at least having some fucking awareness about that, you know, has revolutionized my fucking line of thinking along those lines of, you know, okay, I definitely, you know, have some white privilege going on because you know, I'm Celtic, Indigenous, West Asian, and African. So, you know, being half Celtic, I have that passing privilege and the ability to stop some white people dead in their tracks and fucking correct them about certain things that they absolutely would not listen to from somebody of a darker skin tone because of their own fucking racist ideology that they have ingrained in their fucked mind.
Yep.
You know, it's like, okay, here's where the one and only fucking places that you can make a positive use of that white privilege. Go correct the fucking white people around you. Go fucking correct them.
It's sad, honestly, really.
Even, you know, being Cuban and Jewish, you're a little white passing too. You have that privilege to be able to do the same, you know? That, you know, just the fact that you were of a lighter skin tone too means that there are spaces in which you can go and fucking, you know, speak to people and tell them to come correct. Whereas if somebody who is brown or Black were to step in those spaces and tell them motherfuckers to come correct, they would get assaulted, attacked, potentially killed for it. So by all means, use your voice where you can, when you can, fucking, you know, exploit that fucking privilege for the better good.
Right on. And yeah, you know, it's really saddening. It's really saddening that it's really saddening that that a lot of white people will only give other white people chances to explain themselves and educate them and try and correct them instead of shutting the fuck up and listening to non-white people. It's fucking
Right.
sad.
It genuinely is. It's really fucking sad. That's the state of existence we are at now at this point, from white supremacy having been in power for so many fucking years and conditioning people to those lines of fucking thinking. And it befuddles me at this point how there's still anybody so fucking stupid to actually buy into the ideologies of white supremacy, especially when it comes to like the eugenics bullshit and all of that has been completely fucking scientifically disproven.
Yep.
And they still cling to that shit, and it's like, wow, you're a fucking idiot.
like wow, you adhere to a quote unquote science that has been fucking debunked, that was never actually legitimate in the first place.
No, it was a pseudoscience.
Yep.
Okay, real
pseudo.
scientists do not go, this is the conclusion I want to draw, so I'm going to look for any bullshit I can find to try to support it and skew the evidence to make it sound like I've drawn the right conclusion beforehand. Actual science goes, okay, I posit some questions here that together can form a hypothesis based on what I've already observed, measured, and documented. Now I'm going to put this hypothesis to the test. I'm going to gather data, enough data to actually have statistical significance, and I'm going to study it. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to quantify this data, and I'm going to repeat this experiment countless times over and over again to see if the data sets that I'm getting from repeating this experiment conclusively align with each other, and from that, draw a conclusion.
Yup.
Eugenicists
Exactly.
did not practice real science.
Yup.
It does not, and you see it in how the U.S. government, as always, is trying to pretend that the pandemic is over. It's not.
Yup. Literally.
And you know, the New
Literally.
York Times and the Wall Street Journal and all these Western entities owned by 6 people, once again, you know, trying to still brainwash the public within these arbitrary borders, that, you know, the pandemic is over, it's nothing to worry about. Yeah, we do have high levels of COVID in wastewater, but, you know, it's nothing to worry about. You know, the pandemic is over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also those nurses, they wanted that pandemic to be over. I mean, let's admit it. Like, they wanted that pandemic to be over. They did not care that entire damn time. They only cared about the fact that they were part of a capitalist entity that makes basic medical care our medical care, because we came up with all that stuff. You know, having to pay thousands of freaking dollars that we don't have, just to get cured, just to get treated, just to get basic medical needs. They did not care about that pandemic. And when they declared it to be quote unquote over, a lot of the nurses were happy that the pandemic was quote unquote over. You know, they were not having to wear masks anymore. They did not have to deal with people dying in droves. They could just now live their life and now like escape reality again, because once again, they'll take anything and everything from capitalism in order to, you know, not deal with it. And, I'm not surprised about that, because I mean, they wanted that damn pandemic to be quote unquote over. They just needed some declaration from a higher entity to, you know, give them the green light, essentially. So.
And the killer part is that it's not actually over. They just stopped doing mass testing for COVID. Where now the only way you're going to get tested is if you test yourself at home, or if you go in and request it from your doctor or pharmacist, etc., or if you land in the fucking hospital because you're sick. But what's troubling is we are still seeing areas with spikes in COVID cases landing in the fucking hospital.
And
so it didn't actually end.
Yep. You know, every single time I go out wearing a mask, my parents always make fun of me. They always make fun of me. They always say, "Oh, look at you! You're still wearing a mask. The pandemic is over, silly." You know, when people see it wearing a mask, you know what they say? They laugh at you and think, "Oh my God, look at this guy fucking wearing a mask." They think you're stupid, and they say that to me every single fucking time. I'm like, "Shut the fuck up! Just because your Fox News overlords don't report the pandemic anymore does not fucking mean that's over, you fucking white supremacist fuck."
No, they're just fucking morons who aren't paying attention, because Florida is actually one of the areas with those huge spikes in numbers of COVID cases in hospitals.
Yep.
And the fascist government of Florida is once again sucking those people dry, brainwashing the children with all their bullshit, trying to still kill trans people in any way they could. The fascist government of Florida is literally sucking those people dry. Half of them non-European, literally sucking them dry, literally trying to brainwash anyone in any Floridan that they could. And like, it's literally a ticking time bomb. Because
Florida's fucked
what the
overall.
amount of time it is.
Like,
It's really fucked too, because they did all of this shit for one purpose:
power.
profits and
Make
power.
money.
Yeah. I mean, look at how much wealth made an upward migration into the hands of the already wealthy during the pandemic. And how many people lost their entire asses because of the things you were pointing out a moment ago, Shanti, that we, don't have thousands of dollars set up, in a fucking savings account to cover emergency medical care because we have to go to the hospital and be put on a ventilator for weeks on end. We don't have the means to keep paying our fucking house payments if we're being put off of work for weeks on end because of having COVID. And therefore the banks were able to yank those fucking homes out from underneath people and fuck off, go live in your car if you even have one. And it's so many properties. Look at how many people have been made homeless by the pandemic. And even those who haven't been made homeless lost ownership of their homes, but had to move into rentals if they could even afford it, once they could afford it, to do that. But it was a seizing of everybody's property and resources and concentrating them even further into the fucking hands of the hoarders.
Of the capital. It's a culmination of everything that had been going on before that first case was even announced. All the shit that was going on for years against every oppressed person.
Also, we're still recording. As I mentioned, now we're still recording.
Yeah.
I just looked at the clock and we're at 3.5 hours for this recording. So we should probably, sign off. But if y'all want, we can stay in the room and, continue the conversation.
Right on.
Yeah.
All power.
I'd like Shanti to be able to finish her thoughts first before I cut the recording, though. So by all means, Shanti, go ahead and wrap up.
Once again, the pandemic is a culmination of everything that is colonialism and capitalism since Columbus came to the Bahamas, the sacred land of the Taínos. And COVID is a class catastrophe personified, and a reminder that it's either our livelihood or we perish. Numbers and decimals that we do not have, having to pay for resources and basic rights that is in the hands of pig capitalists that can't even fill out a stadium, as we've been saying for years already. And it's our responsibility again to make this choice of either we free the world and ourselves, or we are going to perish in droves and they win and we lose.
Yep.
That's it.
Exactly. Nail, meat, hammer. You hit it on the head. The fact of the matter is that globally, there's, if I remember right, only about 2,000 billionaires.
Yep.
Versus the other 8+ billion people living in poverty or barely above poverty.
Yeah.
In most of our cases, in order to subsidize those 2,000 motherfuckers who are hoarding enough resources to fucking feed, house, and clothe and educate and provide healthcare for the next fucking 100 or 200 generations of global population. And it's about fucking time that people wake the fuck up and understand how exponentially we outnumber the pieces of shit exploiting all of us and this fucking planet, because it's up to us to liberate our fucking selves. Asking the oppressors nicely will never work. Thank you for those words of wisdom, Masada. Because she was right when she said you cannot fucking ask the oppressor, please stop oppressing me. That is not how the fuck it works. That we have to actually end this shit of allowing billionaires to exploit the masses to the extent that they become capable of becoming billionaires. It's
And
fucked.
trillionaires.
It's all fucked.
It's all fucked.
all
In the
fucked.
famous words, it's all fucked.
Yep.
It all needs to
So,
go away.
George Carlin, it's all fucked and it's all bad for you.
You know,
On that
you
note,
know,
I'm gonna wrap up the recording here. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, both here at the round table and at home watching on YouTube. You guys fucking rock. Panther love to you and all power.
all power to the people. All fucking power. Ooh, sorry, sorry about that. Aw, Shanti left. Aw, I thought she was good.